Introduction: The Cult of Sweat. You have been scammed from the exact millisecond you opened your eyes in this world. They injected you with the most paralyzing and destructive poison in human history, the belief that money is earned by the sweat of your brow. Welcome to the Cult of Sweat, the official religion of three-dimensional slaves. It is a doctrine meticulously designed during the Industrial Revolution to turn you into a human battery, willing to exchange your vital energy for worthless pieces of paper. They told you that hard work dignifies. They indoctrinated you to believe that if you wake up at 5 in the morning, you will someday be rewarded with wealth. Look in the mirror. Look at the oppressed mass that fills the streets, the subways, and the offices every day. They work until they bleed. They live exhausted, stressed, competing for crumbs. And yet, they are absolutely and disgustingly broke. If sweat were the formula for abundance, pack mules would be millionaires. If hard physical work dictated success, construction workers would rule the planet. But they are trapped at the bottom of the pyramid. While you take pride in your fatigue, the true masters of the game laugh at your effort. They know that the matrix feeds on your exhaustion. Your physical friction is what keeps the hologram alive. Listen to me with the coldness of a quantum sniper. Money is not physical. Money does not exist in the material world in the primitive way you believe. The gold standard died decades ago. Today, the money you chase with such desperation is a ghost. It is glowing pixels on your cell phone screen. It is electromagnetic impulses bouncing off the encrypted servers of central banks. You are destroying your biology, trying to catch a hologram with your bare hands. You are trying to punch smoke. That is the psychiatric definition of three-dimensional madness. The sovereign creator, the financial alchemist, does not compete. The sovereign knows that the 3D world is just a dead projection screen. Real wealth is manufactured in the engine room of the fifth dimension. It costs the infinite intelligence exactly the same amount of energy to manifest a $1 bill as a $100 million empire. The mathematics of the universe knows no effort. The only real barrier that exists between your empty bank account and obscene opulence is your addiction to scarcity. It is your pathetic need to feel that you earned it through suffering. This book is the controlled demolition of your misery thermostat. You are going to stop worshipping the god of hard work. You are going to start collecting your cosmic royalties in the currency of consciousness. You are going to learn to dematerialize your concept of wealth. You are going to understand that money is not earned. Money is assumed, collapsed, and forced to orbit around you by pure gravity. Wake up. Take off your mental laborer's uniform. The cult of sweat has just been closed forever. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Matter. Open your wallet. Take out a bill. Stare at it. Touch it. Feel the texture of the paper. Smell the ink. Your primitive brain, programmed by thousands of years of scarcity and indoctrination, is screaming at you right now that you have something valuable in your hands. Your nervous system tells you that piece of paper is security. Your nervous system tells you it is power and survival. You have been deceived by the largest and most destructive optical illusion in human history. That bill is worth absolutely nothing. It is dead matter. It is cellulose processed with colored ink. If you leave it on the table, it does not reproduce, it does not speak to you. It does not protect you from the cold. But you have built your entire identity, your peace of mind and your self-esteem around the amount of those pieces of dead paper that you have stored in a three-dimensional vault. You have mortgaged your soul to the physical world. You have believed the lie that matter is solid, real and scarce. By believing in that lie, you have become the prisoner of your own hallucination. Today we are going to demolish the material world. We are going to disintegrate your concept of physical wealth. If you do not understand the illusion of matter, you will spend the rest of your life chasing ghosts and dying of exhaustion. The delayed mirror and the light of dead stars. To hack the economy of the matrix, you first have to understand how time and space work in quantum physics applied to the law of assumption. The three-dimensional world you see around you, your house, your car, your current bank account, is not reality. It is a rear-view mirror. It is the echo of a sound that was emitted a long time ago. When astronomers look at the night sky with a telescope and see a star shining, they are not seeing the star in real time. They are seeing the light that star emitted millions of years ago. The physical star has probably already exploded and died, but its light is only just reaching Earth today. Your bank account works exactly the same way. It is the light of a dead star. When you open your bank app on your phone and see that your balance is at zero, or that you are drowning in debt, the slave enters a state of panic. The slave cries. The slave becomes depressed because he believes that screen is showing him his present reality. What profound stupidity! That zero balance is not your present. It is the crystallized, dead and solidified result of the thoughts of scarcity you had 3 months ago, a year ago, or a decade ago. You are crying over a corpse. You are allowing a receipt from the past to dictate your emotional state in the only moment where you have real power, the here and now. Putting makeup on the glass. Understanding that the 3D world is a delayed mirror changes everything. It reveals how absurd and pathetic hard work from brute force truly is. Imagine you look in a mirror and see a smudge of dirt on your face. What does the idiot human do? The idiot grabs a rag, soap, and starts scrubbing the glass of the mirror with all his might. He scrubs the mirror until his hands bleed. He exhausts himself. He sweats. He cries with frustration because no matter how much he cleans the glass, the smudge is still there. That is exactly what you do when you try to earn money by working 16 hours a day at a job you hate. That is what you do when you chase clients. That is what you do when you lower your prices out of desperation, or when you take 3 jobs to make ends meet. You are scrubbing the damn mirror. You are trying to change the reflection by manipulating physical matter. It is a titanic, painful, and mathematically useless effort. The smudge is not on the mirror. It is on your own face. It is in your self-concept. If you change your face, if you clean yourself in the inner world, the mirror has no other quantum option but to reflect a clean face in the outer world the very next second. The end of the hustle and the start of gravity. Modern culture has infected you with the hustle mentality. They tell you that you should sleep little, send 1,000 cold emails a day, and wear out the soles of your shoes hitting the pavement to close deals. Trashy gurus scream at you from their stages, "If you aren't sweating, you aren't winning." They are the high priests. They are the high priests of the cult of sweat. They want to keep you running in the hamster wheel because an exhausted human has no energy to think like a god. Excessive physical effort is the undeniable proof of your lack of faith. It is an electromagnetic decree you send to the universe screaming, "I am not a magnetic creator." You are saying, "I am a desperate laborer who has to move stones with my hands to survive." The sovereign creator laughs at the hustle. The sovereign does not scrub the mirror. The sovereign sits on his throne in the darkroom of his pineal gland and alters his identity. He assumes himself as the owner of infinite wealth. He changes the projector, and then he stands up and walks through the world with the heavy inertia of a planet. Physical matter, money, people, opportunities crashes into him, attracted by his immense gravitational mass. There is no chasing. There is no sweat on the brow. There is absolute magnetism. The dematerialization of value. Let's take this to the realm of cold, hard macroeconomics. Money isn't even paper these days. Nearly a century ago, the world abandoned the gold standard. Before, paper currency was a receipt representing physical gold stored in a vault. It had a backing in matter. Today, fiat money is backed by nothing material. It is backed exclusively by the collective belief of citizens and the imposition of governments. Money is a mass hallucination. It is a psychological agreement. When your country's central bank decides it needs to print billions of dollars to rescue the economy, they don't send workers to hack at stone in a gold mine. They don't cut down magic trees. A bureaucrat in a suit sits in front of a computer, types a few zeros into a database, presses the enter key, and magically billions of dollars have just been created out of absolute and empty nothingness. And you, ignorant slave of the matrix, are sacrificing your health and your time. You are sacrificing your peace of mind to try to get a miserable fraction of those digital numbers that a banker invented by typing for 5 seconds. You are worshipping a ghost. You are handing over your real blood in exchange for virtual digits that have no mass, no weight, and no density. If money is a ghost, how do you catch it? This revelation should not depress you. It should violently set you free. If money were physical, if it were solid and scarce like water in the desert, you would be justified in fighting to the death for it. But since money is an illusion, an idea, an abstract concept in a database, it means it is not subject to 3D laws. It is subject to the laws of consciousness. You cannot catch a ghost with a physical butterfly net. You cannot earn ghost money by physically breaking your back. To attract an idea, you have to become a frequency. If the central bank prints money by typing zeros on a computer, you are the central bank of your own timeline. You print your own wealth by typing the assumption into your subconscious mind. The only difference between the banker and you is that the banker believes in his authority to create value from nothing, and you believe in your obligation to beg for that value. The banker decrees, you plead. The mathematics of infinity and the quantum cost. This is where the logic of the novice short-circuits. The slave might believe he can manifest $100 using the law of assumption. $100 seems realistic to him, but if you tell him he can manifest $10 million, his mind blocks. The slave says, "No, that's too much. It will take years. It's too hard." That is the myopia of the third dimension. It is the blindness of measuring energy with a plastic ruler. To the infinite intelligence, to the universal mind, to the quantum field, it costs exactly the same amount of energy to create a $100 bill as it does to create a $10 billion empire. The quantum effort is zero, absolute zero. For the universe that sustains entire galaxies, black holes, and billions of stars burning simultaneously in the void, your request for $10 million is a speck of cosmic dust. It is a microscopic triviality. Difficulty does not exist in the universe. Big and small are human concepts invented by the ego. The biological ego uses them to justify its own incompetence. If it costs you more work to manifest millions than to manifest cents, it is not because the universe is resisting. It is because your subconscious mind has a scarcity filter that rejects large sums as impossible. You are the bottleneck of your own wealth. You are the one holding back the tsunami of gold with a damn plastic spoon. The virus of noble poverty. Where does that subconscious resistance to unlimited wealth come from? It comes from the virus of noble poverty. Throughout the centuries, religion, culture, and television have romanticized poverty. They have told you that the rich are evil, greedy, and unhappy. They have told you it is easier for a camel to go through a needle. They have told you it is easier for a camel than for a rich man to enter heaven. They have brainwashed you to associate material scarcity with spiritual purity. They have made you believe that suffering, going hungry, and living with just enough makes you a good person in the eyes of God. That is the most brilliant propaganda. It is the most perverse propaganda the ruling elites have ever invented. While you vibrate in humble poverty to earn a place in heaven, the elites monopolize Earth's resources, laugh in their mansions, and finance their empires with the fruit of your sacrifice. The unbreakable monster spits on noble poverty. There is absolutely nothing spiritual about not being able to pay your bills. There is no virtue in not being able to give the best medicine to your sick mother. Poverty is a vibrational disease. It is an offense to the infinite intelligence that dwells within you. God is not poor, the universe is obscenely abundant. To reject unlimited wealth is to reject your own divine nature. It is to hide in a cardboard box when you are the legitimate heir to the entire cosmos. The illusion of the transaction. In the physical world, people believe that money is obtained through a transaction of cause and effect. I give you my time, 8 hours a day, and you give me money, a salary. I give you a physical product, and you give me money. They believe money comes from the boss. They believe money comes from the client or economy. That is a fatal optical perception error. Money never comes from an external source. No one out there has the power to give you or take away a single cent in fundamental reality. Money, abundance, flows through people, but it originates in you. You are the source. If you assume the state of wealth, the universe will use channels. The universe will use your boss, your clients, the lottery, or a seemingly random event as simple 3D distribution channels. The avatars, the people, are just messengers delivering the package you ordered telepathically. If your boss fires you, the slave cries. The sovereign smiles, saying, "A river is about to open." Do not idolize the channel. Do not worship the water faucet. Worship the infinite well you carry in your chest Money is a shadow, do not chase it. I want you to engrave this metaphor with fire into your cerebral cortex. Money is a shadow. If you are in a park on a sunny day and try to catch your own shadow by running after it, what happens? The shadow always moves at the same speed as you. It is always one step ahead. You will end up exhausted, sweating, and humiliated. You have wasted the day trying to catch something that has no substance. This is how 99% of the human race lives, running after the shadow of money. But what happens if you stop? What if you stop running, stand up straight, and simply walk toward the sunlight? The shadow chases you. You don't have to call it. You don't have to make an effort. It is a mathematical and inescapable consequence of your position in relation to the light. The shadow has no other quantum option but to crawl tied to your heels. Stop chasing money. Stop running after clients. Stop obsessing over your account balance. All of that is chasing the shadow. Focus 100% of your mental violence, your discipline, and your energy on walking toward the light of your own self-concept. Become the sun. Feel the wealth boiling in your blood. Walk with the arrogance of an emperor. When you fix your attention on your internal state, the shadow you project will eclipse all your competition. The paradox of three-dimensional action. But then do I just sit on the sofa all day visualizing and money will fall from the ceiling? That is the cynical question the logical slave always asks to try to invalidate metaphysics. No, you don't stay on the sofa, but the nature of your action changes in a monstrous way. It transforms. It mutates from friction to fluidity. When you are a slave who works hard, your action is born from fear. You do things out of terror of going bust. You call clients out of fear of not paying rent. You study careers you hate out of fear of failure. Your action is heavy, painful, and repulsive. When you become the alchemist, action is born from certainty. You act in the 3D world not to get money, but to express the money you already have in the fifth dimension. Inspired action feels like a game. It feels like gliding on ice. You have a sudden business idea, and you execute it with absolute coldness and fun, knowing beforehand that success is inevitable. You don't care if someone says no because you aren't trying to catch anyone. You are playing at manifesting. You are molding the matrix Play-Doh for pure aesthetics and divine pleasure. Your body will move, yes. You will build companies, but that physical movement will be the perfect, effortless choreography of a god. The surrender of the bank account. The final step to destroy the illusion of matter at this first level is to commit an act of anarchy against your own bank account. You have to stop checking your bank balance with anxiety. The slave opens the bank app 5 times a day, cold sweating, calculating cents, watching numbers drop every time he buys food. Every time you check your balance with fear, you are worshipping the false idol of matter. You are kneeling before the delayed mirror. You are collapsing the wave of scarcity and reaffirming your poverty for tomorrow. Uninstall that damn addiction. Do not look at the receipts of the past. Ignore the evidence of the senses. If your account is in the red and a collector calls you, you respond with icy politeness, hang up, and immediately close your eyes and refuse to validate that fact. You say, that collector is an echo of my old doubts. My current bank account is a joke of the simulation. In my true reality, the vault is overflowing. The 3D balance is correcting itself this precise instant to match my assumption. You look at the red balance and you laugh. You laugh with an arrogance so deep and psychopathic that fear itself will flee from your gut. You have lost respect for the limitations of the physical world. You no longer pay tribute to paper bills. The deception of prices. The material world surrounds you with price tags. You go to a luxury store, you see a car or a mansion, and the price seems like an impassable barrier, a concrete wall. The price of things is another holographic illusion. The price is not a wall, it is a filter. It is designed to scare off the fearful. It filters out those who lack a self-concept. When you dematerialize money, you understand that a $300,000 car doesn't cost that amount. It costs the electromagnetic frequency equivalent to having that amount. If you turn up the dial of your internal frequency, money will generate automatically. The car is not expensive, your vibration is cheap. Raise the price of your identity, and the physical world will adjust the numbers in your favor. The transition to the frequency of the financial predator. You have understood that matter is dust. You have understood that physical effort is the trap of slaves to keep them poor and tired. Money is not physical. It is solid consciousness. It is collapsed light. But knowing this intellectually is not enough. Theory is useless if we do not alter your biology. We must change your biology so you stop behaving like a frightened worker. You have to stop acting like a hamster running in the wheel of the capitalist system, and you have to start acting like the owner of the wheel factory. To do that, we must rip out the most deep-seated cancer, your addiction to friction. Chapter 2: The Friction of Hard Work. This disease is called the hard work culture. It is the romanticization of exhaustion. It is the absolute glorification of bleeding for pennies. It is the religion of the modern slave. Society rewards the man who works 18 hours a day. They applaud the mother who has 3 jobs just to survive. They call them heroes. They hang medals of moral superiority on their chests. I'm going to tell you the coldest and most sociopathic truth of the quantum universe. The universe does not give a damn about your blisters. The universe is not moved by your physical exhaustion. It has never cared. The quantum field only responds to frequency, state, and assumption. The frequency of working until you die is exactly the same frequency as I am a desperate and poor slave. The telepathy of sweat. When you proudly declare how hard you work, you are sending a telepathic signal of misery to the quantum field. You are shouting, I am not worthy of receiving wealth easily. I have to be punished first to deserve it. The field hears your decree. The field says, as you wish. And it immediately materializes more obstacles, more tyrannical bosses, and more bills, just so you can continue fulfilling your fantasy of suffering. If hard physical work were the secret formula for immense wealth, pack mules would be billionaires. Bricklayers and miners would rule the global economy, but they do not. They are trapped at the absolute bottom of the financial pyramid. They are the biological fuel that keeps the simulation burning for the true sovereign creators. The people who control the world, those who move billions of dollars with a single whisper, do not sweat. They do not run in the hamster wheel, they own the factory. The trap of the linear equation. You have been tricked into exchanging your sacred and irreplaceable time for pieces of dead paper. You have accepted the supreme scam, the linear equation that says time plus effort, money. This equation is a mathematical lie designed to keep you exhausted. Because a human being who is physically and mentally drained has no energy. They have no energy left to visualize, assume, and hack the 3D hologram. You come home from your soul-crushing job, your bones ache, your brain is fried, and you collapse on the sofa. You have zero electromagnetic energy to project a new reality in the 5th dimension. The Matrix wins. The system keeps you in a state of perpetual survival. You wake up the next day, drink your cheap coffee, and re-enter the wheel. You are a biological battery. We are going to destroy this programming today. We are going to cut the mental cord that connects your physical effort with your financial compensation. They have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Money is not physical. Therefore, physical effort cannot create it. Physical effort can only move matter that already exists. But the creation of wealth is the act of collapsing new probability waves. The hamster and quantum friction. When you try to force a business to work through pure willpower, you are creating quantum friction. Friction is resistance. In physics, friction causes heat, wear, and eventual destruction. Imagine a hamster running in its plastic wheel. The hamster runs faster and faster. His heart beats at 1,000 miles per hour. He genuinely believes he is going somewhere. He feels highly productive. But from the outside, the observer sees the pathetic truth. The hamster has not moved a single centimeter. He is only spinning a plastic toy inside a metal cage. This is the exact X-ray of your professional career. You send 1,000 cold emails. You beg clients to buy from you. You lower your prices to beat the competition. You stay awake until 3 in the morning in front of the computer. You are only spinning the wheel faster. Every time you act from desperation, you push your desire further away. In the quantum realm, the law of reversed effort is an absolute dictatorship. The law of reversed effort. The more you try to grab something out of fear of not having it, the faster it slips through your fingers. The universe repels desperation in the same way a magnet repels its identical pole. Need is the stench of the slave. When you hustle out of panic, The 3D world smells your fear. Clients feel it in your tone of voice. Investors read it in your body language. Money itself feels disgusted by your sweaty and anxious energy. No one wants to give their money to someone who desperately needs it to eat. People give their money to those who act as if they have plenty. It is an unbreakable rule. Excessive effort is a statement of doubt. If you knew you were the owner of the bank, you wouldn't be at the door fighting with the security guards to let you in. You would walk in slowly, in silence, and the guards would open the door for you. Financial Wu Wei. The sovereign creator operates under a diametrically opposite paradigm. The sovereign operates under the ancient Taoist principle of Wu Wei, the art of doing by not doing. Action without friction. Wu Wei is not laziness. Laziness is the depression of the slave who has surrendered to the system. Wu Wei is the absolute and chilling arrogance of the god who knows that the entire universe is already working for him. When the sovereign wants millions of dollars, he does not start running frantically in the 3D world. He does not panic. He stops his movement completely. He becomes a titanium statue. He enters the darkroom of his own mind. He claims the state of extreme wealth. He assumes the identity of the multimillionaire. He fixes that frequency in his central nervous system and puts a hermetic lock on it. And then he waits. He does not force the doors with an iron bar. He simply stands before the door. He stands with an aura of absolute inevitability, and the hologram is forced to unlock the bolts by pure atmospheric pressure. Forced action versus inspired action. This is the lethal difference between forced action and inspired action. Forced action is pushing a giant rock uphill while your hands bleed. You wake up without desire. You force yourself to work. You hate the process, but you do it because you have to pay the bills. It is the path of the servant. Inspired action feels like gravity. It feels like sliding on ice. Suddenly, while you are showering or walking through the park, you receive a brilliant and effortless idea. You make a single phone call. You send a single 2-line email. And that single microscopic action, devoid of effort, generates $1 million contract. It took you 5 minutes. It felt like playing a video game. You didn't sweat, you didn't stress. It was mathematically perfect. 99% of humanity will look at you and say, you were lucky. They will say, it is unfair that you earn in 5 minutes what takes them 10 years. They will hate you because you bypassed their suffering. Let them hate you. Let them drown in their noble poverty. You are not here to be fair. Justice is a concept invented by losers to justify their own mediocrity. You are here to dominate the simulation. The murder of labor guilt. To step into this power, you have to murder the guilt of resting. You have been conditioned like a Pavlovian dog to feel guilty when you are not productive. If you sit on the sofa on a Tuesday afternoon doing absolutely nothing, your ego starts screaming at you. Your ego says you should be working. Your competition is trying hard while you sleep. You are going to go bust. That is the matrix parasite trying to drag you by the hair back to the hamster wheel. You have to learn to look that guilt in the eye, smile with icy indifference and tell it to shut up. You have to understand that your physical rest is a deeply strategic and aggressive quantum maneuver. When you are resting, when you are sleeping, when you are simply existing in a state of quiet luxury on a Wednesday morning, you are vibrating at the frequency of the absolute aristocracy. You are proving to the universe that you do not need to struggle. The man who can sleep peacefully while his bank account is at zero is a dangerous and indomitable monster. He has disconnected his nervous system from the illusions of the 3D world. The hologram short circuit. The Matrix has no power over a mind that refuses to panic. When you refuse to hustle, when you refuse to run in the wheel even though external circumstances seem terrifying, the system suffers a short circuit. The hologram does not know what the hell to do with you. The system expects you to beg. It expects you to bleed. When you simply lie back and demand your inheritance in absolute silence, the quantum field reorganizes violently to put the wealth directly in your lap. Stop trying to figure out the how. The logistics of your wealth are none of your business. The how is the domain of three-dimensional laborers. You are the architect. You only dictate the what. When a king orders a castle to be built, he does not go to the quarry to chip stone. He does not mix cement with his hands. He issues the royal decree from his throne, and the machinery of the kingdom builds it for him. Your mind is the king. Your physical body and 3D events are the machinery. Stop forcing your physical avatar to do the heavy lifting. Use the obscene leverage of the fifth dimension. Scaling arrogance, not ours. If you want to double your income this month, your biological slave instinct will tell you that you have to work double the hours. That is linear and pathetic mathematics. You cannot scale your physical body. You only have 24 hours a day. If you exchange time for money, you have a glass ceiling that will crush you. Instead, you have to double your energy density. You have to double the arrogance of your self-concept. You keep your physical work hours exactly the same, or even reduce them by half. You work less, but you demand 10 times more payment for the same amount of physical production. You raise your prices with a psychopathic lack of empathy toward the client's budget. You give no explanations. The moment you justify your high prices based on the hard work it took you to make the product, you lose the crown. You do not charge for your sweat. You charge for the pure and sacred privilege of your presence. The Swiss watch syndrome. A Rolex watch does not cost $30,000 because the gears inside took 3 years of physical assembly. It costs $30,000 because Rolex assumes it is worth $30,000. They sell the frequency of exclusivity, not physical metal. You have to become the Rolex of your industry. You have to stop selling your physical friction and start selling your quantum gravity. When a client tells you that you charge too much for something that took you an hour to do, you don't explain your years of study. You look at them in silence and say, I charge you for the result you get, not for the minutes on my watch. The terror of free time, the abyss. When you eliminate the friction of hard work from your life, a terrifying silence will enter your routine. You will have free time. You will have entire hours in which you literally have nothing physical to do. This vacuum terrifies the beginner. The slave mind cannot handle empty time. They will try to fill it with occupational tasks, checking useless emails or cleaning the house, just to feel the familiar and comforting pain of being busy. Do not fill the vacuum. Sit in it. Make it yours. This free time is the irrefutable proof of your wealth. True wealth is not the accumulation of paper bills. It is the absolute and non-negotiable sovereignty over your own time. If you are a millionaire but work 15 hours a day, you are the best paid slave on the plantation. Nothing more. Use this empty space to build your empire in the dark. Use it to saturate your subconscious mind with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. While the world out there is screaming, running, sweating, and fighting for crumbs, you are sitting in a silent room, rewriting the code of the universe with the ease of a programmer typing on his computer. The insult to the system. You are hacking the world's wealth without moving from your chair. This is the ultimate insult to the system. You are taking its money without playing by its rules of suffering. They will call you lazy. They will say you are disconnected from reality. You will simply nod and look at your overflowing bank accounts. You will realize that their reality is a maximum security prison from which you have successfully escaped. The transition from slave to sovereign requires a violent recalibration of what you consider valuable. You have to stop valuing your effort. Effort is cheap. Anyone can sweat. A machine can work 24 hours a day and does not collect a salary. You have to start valuing your state of consciousness above all physical actions. If $1 million deal requires you to lower your frequency, become anxious, and hustle like a maniac, you turn around and walk away. You reject money contaminated with friction. You only accept wealth that flows toward you like water coming down a mountain. This level of extreme selectivity is what turns you into a magnetic black hole for abundance. The test of surrender. When you prove to the universe that you are perfectly willing to reject a bad deal because you refuse to sweat, the universe panics. It realizes it cannot manipulate you with scarcity, and to keep you in the game, the Matrix will throw better, faster, and effortless opportunities at your feet. It will send you clients who do not argue your prices. It will send you investments that multiply overnight, deals that close with a 3-second handshake. All this happens because you let go of the friction. You stopped fighting against the delayed mirror. You stopped trying to force the hologram. You realize that the hologram is just a shadow. And shadows do not require effort to move. They only require that the object projecting the shadow change its shape. You changed your shape in the fifth dimension. The end of the financial Stone Age. The era of bleeding for money is over. The religion of the cult of sweat has been dismantled. The hamster wheel is broken into 1,000 pieces. You are leaving the cage today. You have declared yourself in rebellion against hyperactivity. You have embraced the tactical immobility of the predator. You know the prey will come to drink at your lake sooner or later. But there is a problem. There is an invisible, thick and armored barrier inside your brain. Even if you stop working hard, even if you understand that effort is a mathematical scam, your biological nervous system still has a poverty limit. You have a thermostat installed in your quantum hypothalamus that regulates exactly how much wealth you are allowed to hold before you unconsciously self-sabotage. Sudden wealth terrifies the slave more than death itself. Chapter 3: The Quantum Thermostat. You believe you want to be filthy rich. You believe your greatest desire in this incarnation is to have a bank account with 7, 8, or 9 zeros. You lie down at night visualizing mansions, yachts, and absolute power. You are lying to yourself with monumental nerve. If the infinite intelligence deposited $10 million into your bank account this very second, your central nervous system would collapse. You would enter a state of biological panic so deep that your subconscious mind would do everything humanly and quantumly possible to get rid of that money in record time. You are not afraid of poverty. You already know poverty. You have lived with it, adapted to it, and you know how to survive until the end of the month. Poverty is your three-dimensional comfort zone. What you have a genuine, visceral, and paralyzing terror of is disproportionate abundance. Today we are going to open your metaphysical skull with a scalpel. We are going to find the invisible artifact that keeps you tied to financial mediocrity. We are going to tear it out by the roots, and we are going to reconfigure your fuses. Welcome to the mechanics of the quantum thermostat. The anatomy of the thermostat. To understand your own misery, you first have to understand how a physical thermostat works in the 3D world. Imagine a hotel room with a thermostat set to 20 degrees Celsius. If you open the window in the middle of winter and the room temperature drops to 10 degrees, the thermostat detects the anomaly. Automatically, it turns on the heating to warm the room and return it to 20 degrees. But what happens if you light a fire inside the room and the temperature rises to 40 degrees? The thermostat detects the extreme heat, enters an alert state, turns off the heating and turns on the air conditioning at maximum power to cool the room. It forces it to return to 20 degrees. The thermostat has no morality. It doesn't care if you are cold or hot. Its only mathematical function is to maintain the temperature at the level it was programmed. Your subconscious mind has a financial quantum thermostat. It is programmed with an exact number. It is the amount of money with which your nervous system feels safe. That number is your limit of tolerated poverty. The threshold of comfortable misery. If your thermostat is set to earn $2,000 a month, that is your equilibrium point. If 1 month you have an emergency, you are fired, or your sales drop to zero, the temperature of your bank account falls. Panic ignites. Your thermostat detects the cold of absolute bankruptcy and activates the heating of survival instinct. Suddenly, you become hyperactive. You start moving contacts, you sell something you weren't using, you get a temporary job, and magically you generate the $2,000 to survive. Your thermostat saved you from freezing to death, and you feel proud. You say, "I am a survivor. The universe always provides just what I need." You are a delusional fool celebrating your own prison. The universe did not provide for you. Your thermostat simply returned you to your zone of tolerated mediocrity. But here comes the lethal part, the part that destroys 99% of aspiring sovereign creators. What happens when the temperature rises too much? The terror of sudden wealth. Suppose you apply the law of assumption. You align yourself with the frequency of abundance. The matrix obeys, and suddenly you close a deal that leaves you $50,000 in cash in a single day. You have exceeded your thermostat by $48,000. The room has heated up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. The novice believes he is going to be happy, but his nervous system, programmed for the scarcity of $2,000, detects this massive anomaly. The subconscious screams, "Danger! This is not our environment. We have too much money. This is unknown and unsafe." and the financial thermostat turns on the AC of sabotage. The air conditioning of quantum self-sabotage turns on at maximum power. You start making stupid financial decisions. You buy a car you don't need that depreciates the moment you leave the dealership. You lend money to a parasitic relative you know perfectly well will never pay you back. You make a high-risk investment and lose half. Or worse yet, your electromagnetic field, desperate to get rid of the excess energy, collapses waves of disaster into the physical world. Suddenly, the roof of your house breaks and the repair costs $10,000. You have a medical accident not covered by insurance. In less than 3 months, the $50,000 have evaporated. You have exactly $2,000 in your account again. You sigh with relief without realizing it. Your ego says, "I had such bad luck." But your nervous system is at peace. You have returned to the temperature you know. You have returned to your comfortable misery. The lottery winner syndrome. This is not an esoteric theory. It is a proven statistic of the three-dimensional world. Observe lottery winners. People who lived in extreme poverty win $100 million overnight. The matrix injects them with an amount of material energy that their nervous systems are not calibrated to support. In a period of 3 to 5 years, 70% of lottery winners end up bankrupt, depressed, addicted to drugs, or dead. Their quantum thermostat was not reprogrammed. They received physical money, but their self-concept remained that of a beggar. Money, being high-frequency energy, felt suffocated in such a small, dirty container. The hologram had to destroy the physical wealth to match the mental identity of the subject. It is basic physics. Matter always obeys the mind. Always. If you win $1 million but have the mind of a slave, the $1 million is just a temporary error in the matrix that will correct itself by destroying you. The X-ray of your glass ceiling. To destroy the thermostat, you first have to find where yours is configured. You have an invisible glass ceiling over your head. What is the amount of money that, if you spent it today on something purely aesthetic or pleasurable, would give you a stomachache? If you buy a $1,000 watch, do you feel guilt? If you spend $10,000 on a vacation, do you feel you are committing a sin and that you will need that money later? That stomachache, that contraction in your chest, is the thermostat screaming. It is the exact limit of your retention capacity. The slave earns money and feels the urgent need to get rid of it. He gets rid of it by paying debts, buying cheap things, or saving it compulsively out of fear. The slave feels that money burns in his hands. The unbreakable monster has infinite retention capacity. The sovereign can have $100 million liquid and feel the same bored neutrality as if he had a dollar bill. There is no excitement. There is no fear of losing it. There is no guilt for having it. The money rests in his bank account with the same naturalness with which water rests at the bottom of the ocean. The guilt of surpassing the tribe. There is a second wiring that keeps your thermostat in poverty, toxic loyalty to your biological tribe. The human being is a tribal animal. In ancient times, if the tribe expelled you, you died devoured by predators. Your reptilian brain associates belonging to the tribe with physical survival. If you were born into a lower or middle-class family where money was always a problem, where your parents fought over bills, and where wealth was seen as unreachable or evil, your thermostat was programmed by them. If you suddenly start applying magnetism, you become a millionaire, and it is an insult. Your success proves that their years of suffering and hard work were a slave's choice, not a condemnation from God. Your reptilian brain knows this. It knows that if you become filthy rich, you will stop having things in common with your family. You will become an alien in your own home. Out of biological terror of being expelled from the tribe and ceasing to fit in, your subconscious turns off the money-making machine. You prefer to stay broke and be accepted by the mediocre than to become the untouchable king of your own solitary empire. The amputation of family loyalty. To reprogram your thermostat, you have to commit an energetic betrayal. You have to look at your family tree, at the history of poverty of your parents and grandparents, and repudiate it with absolute coldness. Not with hate, because hate ties you. With tactical indifference. You have to say mentally, I love my holographic origin, but I repudiate its poverty. I renounce the contract of solidarity in misery. If my wealth offends them, let them be offended. I was not born to make them comfortable. I was born to govern the simulation. When you amputate loyalty to poverty, the ceiling shatters. You no longer have to keep yourself small so that others don't feel inferior. You free yourself from the heaviest anchor of the 3D world. The hack, raising the temperature by force. Now we are going to put our hands into the hardware of your brain. We are going to reprogram the number of your thermostat. And we are not going to do it with cheap positive affirmations. We are going to do it with calculated three-dimensional violence. Your thermostat is programmed by the repetition of habits. If you always buy the cheapest thing at the supermarket, you are telling your subconscious that your natural temperature is lack. To change the temperature, you have to start injecting artificial heat into the room until the thermostat breaks and accepts the new normal. You have to start executing sovereign spending. I'm not telling you to go into stupid debt to appear rich. That is what Instagram jesters do. I'm telling you to change the quality of your interaction with matter. The 5-star coffee exercise. If you are used to having coffee in a cheap place on the corner because it's what you can afford, you are going to stop that beggar behavior today. Once a week, you will dress in your best clothes. You will go to the most luxurious and exclusive hotel in your city, the place where millionaires and politicians go. You will enter through the main door with your back straight and the predatory gaze you learned in Chapter 7. You will sit in the lobby, and you will order a simple coffee. That coffee will cost you 10 times more than it costs on the corner. When you pay for it, your scarcity thermostat will scream. Your stomach will contract. Your mind will say, "What a waste of money." Bite your tongue. Suppress the slave's voice. You are going to leave the largest tip you have ever left without looking at the receipt, and you are going to drink that coffee slowly, observing the luxury around you. While you are there, you will use predatory telepathy to inject a new assumption into your nervous system. This is my natural ecosystem. This is my base temperature. Anything below this level of opulence is unacceptable and incompatible with my identity. You are acclimating your biology to wealth. The aesthetics of the expensive void. The slave has his house full of cheap things, clothes he doesn't wear and accumulated trash, because the slave has a terror of the void. He fears that if he throws something away, he won't have money to buy it again. The sovereign creator applies the aesthetics of the expensive void. You're going to go to your closet and throw in the trash without mercy, all the old, torn or cheap clothes that make you feel like a lower-class worker. Even if you are left with only 3 shirts, it is preferable to have 3 exquisite shirts in an immense empty closet than 100 mediocre ones. The void in your closet, in your house and in your life, when it is intentional, is a magnet of infinite gravity. You are telling the quantum field, "I have cleared the 3-dimensional space. My new thermostat only accepts first-class matter. Fill this void with gold." The universe abhors a vacuum. The murder of haggling. If you want your thermostat to reach obscene wealth, you have to extirpate the most disgusting habit, haggling and the compulsive search for discounts. When you go to buy something and ask for a discount, or spend 3 hours looking for a coupon to save $5, you are emitting a frequency of pure misery. You are declaring that your time, the energy of a god, is worth less than $5 of dead paper. The sovereign never haggles. If the price of something he desires seems appropriate, he pays it without hesitation. If he does not have the money in his physical hologram at that moment, he does not ask for a discount. The sovereign says, "I have not yet materialized the physical funds for the highest quality version. I will wait in the void until reality adjusts." He prefers not to have the object rather than degrade his self-concept. Paying the full price without complaining is an act of quantum arrogance. It is saying to life, "Money is dust, I manufacture it when I want, keep the change." That is the frequency that breaks the thermostat of fear. Indifference to the bill. The final nail in the coffin of your poverty limit is your reaction to mandatory expenses. When the electricity bill, the rent receipt, or the tax collection arrives, the slave suffers. He pays with pain. He feels that they are taking his money. His thermostat lowers the temperature due to fear of loss. The unbreakable monster pays his bills with sociopathic indifference. There is no pain. There is no loss. Remember Chapter 1. Money is a shadow, and you are the light. When you pay a bill, you are simply moving a shadow from one place to another. The light remains within you. You pay thousands of dollars in bills with the same apathy with which you would throw a stone into a river. By decoupling emotional pain from the outflow of money, you prove to your subconscious that financial flow is not a threat. The machine unlocks. The sovereign's absolute zero. You have done the exercises. You have stopped haggling. You have amputated the loyalty to poverty of your tribe. You have endured the discomfort of spending with arrogance to force the system to recalibrate. An inflection point will come. Your biology will finally collapse and accept the new reality. That day, your quantum thermostat will be fixed at a new base number. Your absolute zero will change. For the slave, the emergency level is having $0 in the bank. For the sovereign, absolute zero becomes $1 million. If your account drops below that, it is an unacceptable anomaly. The 3D hologram will enter an emergency state to return the lost funds to you within 24 hours. You won't have to work hard. The gravity of your new assumption will be so massive that business opportunities and lucky breaks will materialize from nowhere to restore your balance of opulence. You have turned obscene wealth into your biological comfort zone. You have forced the matrix to keep you rich so as not to alter your heart rate. Chapter 4: Identity Inflation. You have been domesticated to ask for permission. You have grown up believing that the market is an omnipresent God that decides what you are worth, what your time is worth, and what your work is worth. You sit in front of a computer to research what your competitors are charging. You check their prices. Then, out of pure biological terror of not getting clients, you set your price 5% cheaper than them. You believe you are being competitive. You believe you are using a market penetration strategy. You are a three-dimensional fraud. You are a beggar fighting for scraps in a dead-end alley. By competing on price, you have just announced to the quantum field that your identity has no intrinsic value. You have told the matrix, I have no gravity of my own. I am an interchangeable generic. Please, buy me because I am the cheapest. And the matrix will punish you by sending you the scum of the market. Today we are going to disconnect you from the economy of slaves. We are going to destroy the illusion of the fair price. You are going to learn to print your own currency. You are going to inflate your identity until the 3D market suffocates and has no choice but to kneel before your new price tag. The lie of objective value. Listen to me with all the coldness of a sniper. Objective value does not exist in the material universe. It is a consensus hallucination. A glass of water in a roadside restaurant costs $1. That same glass of water, with the exact same H2O molecules, in the Sahara Desert in front of a dehydrated millionaire, is worth $1 million. The water did not change. The chemistry of the product is identical. What changed was the context, the perception, and the gravity of the situation. You are the water. Your services, your products, your art, or your time are simply physical molecules. They do not have a mathematical value glued to them by the hand of God. The value of what you do is the exact price you have the courage to demand without blinking. Not a cent more, not a cent less. If you charge $100 for your service, you are decreeing that your self-concept weighs $100. If tomorrow you wake up, look in the mirror, change your electromagnetic frequency and demand $10,000 for the same service, the matrix will adjust reality to pay you $10,000. The crime of charging cheap. Charging cheap is not a business strategy. Charging cheap is an act of self-hatred. It is a direct insult to the infinite intelligence that breathes through you. When you offer your services at fire sale prices, you believe you are doing the world a favor. You believe you are being accessible and humble. What you are really doing is opening the door of your castle to the most destructive hordes of zombies and energy vampires in the hologram. There is an unbreakable mathematical law in human psychology. The client who pays the least is the one who demands the most, complains the most, and drains your vital energy the most. The cheap client haggles with you. They call you after hours. They ask for infinite modifications. They lack respect for you. And in the end, they threaten to ask for a refund. Why? Because the cheap client vibrates at the frequency of absolute misery. They live in a state of financial panic. By handing over their miserable $100, they feel they have handed over their life, and therefore they believe they now own you. The extermination of the parasitic client. The unbreakable monster does not negotiate with low-frequency terrorists. The sovereign exterminates the parasitic client from their timeline using the cruelest and most effective weapon of quantum capitalism, the price barrier. Your price is not just a number to make money. Your price is a titanium deflector shield. It is a strainer designed to leave out the three-dimensional trash and allow entry only to royalty. When you multiply your prices by 10, 90% of your current clients will disappear. They will flee terrified. They will insult you. They will tell you that you went crazy, that you are a thief, and that you're going to go bust. Celebrate their departure. Open a bottle of champagne and toast to their flight. You have just cleaned your auric field of the most draining friction in your business. The trash has just taken itself out to the street. The mathematics of the quantum leap, the 10x rule. The slave is terrified of losing that 90% of cheap clients. The slave prefers to have 100 clients paying them $10 and work 100 hours until their eyes bleed. The sovereign understands the mathematics of infinity. If you multiply your price by 10 and lose 90% of your clients, you are left only with the 10% elite. That 10% is going to pay you exactly the same amount of money as the 100 slaves, but you are only going to work a tenth of the time. You have recovered 90% of your free time. You have recovered your peace of mind. You have eliminated complaints. And most importantly, you have positioned yourself as an item of ultra-luxury. And here real economic black magic happens. The high-value client, the one who pays $10,000 without blinking, never complains. They never bother you in the early morning. The wealthy client respects you because they respect their own money. By paying you a fortune, their brain assumes you are a genius. They will obey your orders without resistance. You did not change your physical product. You changed your identity. You printed your own currency and forced the world to use your exchange rate. The ego as a central bank. In the 3D economy, inflation is a monster that destroys the purchasing power of slaves. The central bank prints bills without backing, and money loses its value. In the economy of the fifth dimension, you are going to execute identity inflation. You are your own central bank. But unlike human banks, you are not going to devalue your currency. You are going to hyperinflate the value of your internal shares. You are going to print bills of divine arrogance, and you are going to back them with the inexhaustible gold reserve of your self-concept. To charge obscene sums, you must first hold that figure. You must be able to hold that figure in your nervous system without your voice trembling. If you are going to ask for $50,000 for a contract, and as you say it, your throat dries up, your eyes wander, and your voice trembles, the client will smell your fraud. Your biology will betray you. Biology. The client will say they will think about it and will disappear. Because they did not feel the gravity of the $50,000, they felt the desperation of a frightened imposter. The murder of impositor syndrome. That tremor in your voice is imposter syndrome. It is your biological ego telling you, you do not have enough university degrees. You do not have enough years of experience. You are nobody to charge this. That is the programming of the Prussian education system. They taught you that value is obtained through degrees. They taught you value comes from cardboard sealed by obsolete institutions. The sovereign creator decapitates imposter syndrome with a single assumption. My value does not come from my three-dimensional experience. My value comes from the undeniable fact that I am the infinite intelligence operating this hologram. You do not need a certificate to charge millions. You do not need the permission of your competitors. You do not need to justify your price with a detailed list of the materials you used. You charge for the quantum transformation that your simple presence generates in the timeline of the other person, selling the void and certainty. Slaves sell features. They sell 1-hour sessions. They sell 3 design revisions. They sell physical and logical characteristics. Logic is cheap. Logic can be compared on Google in 3 seconds. The unbreakable monster does not sell hours. The sovereign sells the void. The sovereign sells the absolute certainty that the client's problem will cease to exist the instant they sign the contract. When you sit in front of a client or an investor, you do not recite a pathetic resume. You apply the predatory telepathy that you learned in Chapter 7. You look them in the eyes. You transmit an icy and murderous peace. You make them feel that their problem is tiny, ridiculous, and boring to you. And when they ask you the price, you say the highest number your mind can pronounce without laughing. You say, it costs $100,000. Immediately after, you execute the killer pause. You shut your mouth, you close your lips, you do not justify yourself. You do not offer payment facilities on your own initiative. You sit in the silence and let the gravitational weight of that number crush their skull. The subconscious need to pay more. Here is a secret of psychological manipulation that 99% of salespeople ignore. People want to pay high prices. The human being, terrified by the uncertainty of the 3D world, desperately seeks authority figures who give them security. In primitive psychology, cheapness is associated with risk, failure, and death. Extreme expensiveness is associated with survival, the elite, and immortality. When a client has a serious problem, they do not want the cheapest solution. They want the certainty that the problem will disappear. If you charge them cheap, you rob them of the psychological experience of luxury. You rob them of peace. They will think, if he charges so little, he is surely not that good. My problem is still in danger. By charging them an astronomical and irrational figure, their reptilian brain says, if this individual has the arrogance to charge me this madness without blinking, he must be a god at what he does. I will give him all my money. You are hacking their biological need for security. You are using their fear of being wrong in your favor. You are selling them the illusion of control in exchange for their bank transfer. The luxury of the negative, the power to reject money. Identity inflation does not work if you are an addict to money. If you need them to say yes to pay the rent, your desperation will leak through your pores and ruin the quantum transaction. For your inflated price to work, you have to be willing to get up from the table, reject the money, and walk away into the void. If the client tries to haggle your $100,000 and offers you $50,000, the slave accepts, trembling with fear of losing the sale. The sovereign slowly rises from the chair. He smiles with a slight disappointment. He looks down at the client and says, I understand. I thought you were ready for the big leagues. Call me when your budget adjusts to my reality. Have a nice day. You turn around and walk toward the door. The panic that client will feel will be monumental. You have just withdrawn validation. You have just classified them as a small player. Their corporate ego will suffer a massive hemorrhage. 9 times out of 10, before you touch the doorknob, the client will shout at your back, wait, we can get the 100,000. Let's sign. And if they don't, and you walk out the door without the money, you have won anyway. You have trained your nervous system not to bend the knee to 3D blackmail. You have solidified your quantum floor. The universe will send you a $200,000 client the next day to reward your insolence. The halo effect of tactical arrogance. When you inflate your financial identity and stand firm in your expensive void, you create a halo effect around your holographic avatar. People will not only start paying you more, they will start treating you better. Your partner will see you as more attractive. Your friends will listen with more respect. Strangers will step aside to let you pass. Why? Because money and self-concept are made of the same electromagnetic fiber. By demanding that the financial world bend to your fee, you have altered the gravity of your entire being. You are no longer matter pleading, you are matter commanding. You are a black hole that has dictated its own interest rate. You have dematerialized the competition. No one can compare you to the rest of the market anymore because your absurdly high prices have taken you out of the category of normal humans. You have classified yourself in a league of one. You are a breathing monopoly. The trial by fire when the machine turns on. You have adjusted the thermostat. You have inflated your identity. You have demanded the obscene sum of money in absolute silence. And then the hologram collapses in your favor. Your bank screen updates. The zeros appear. Physical, material, and dense money lands in your hands. You have hacked the simulation. The first time this happens, you will feel a quantum intoxication. You will realize that you were always the owner of the casino. You will realize that poverty was a simple joke in bad taste that you were playing on yourself. But beware, creator. Here, with full pockets and victory in hand, is where the Matrix sets a trap. The Matrix sets its most sadistic, ancient, and lethal trap. The money has come in. And now your slave mind, conditioned by generations of frightened peasants, is going to scream an order at you that seems logical, prudent, and responsible. Your mind will tell you, save it, hide it, save for the future, save for. If you listen to that voice, if you keep that money under the mattress of fear, You are activating the time bomb that will destroy your entire empire in a matter of months. Chapter 5: The Murder of Saving. They convinced you that accumulating bills under the mattress or in a mediocre savings account was an act of responsibility, intelligence, and maturity. What a disgusting and paralyzing lie. Saving out of fear is the ultimate expression of quantum cowardice. It is a direct insult to the infinite intelligence. It is the act of kneeling before the altar of scarcity and pleading that the universe does not hit you too hard. Today we are going to execute your saving self. We are going to dismantle the scam of the banking system that profits from your terror. You are going to learn to murder the beggar's vibration and turn your money into an army of relentless mercenaries. The contract signed with tragedy. To understand why traditional saving is destructive black magic, you have to understand how the electromagnetic field processes your intentions. The universe does not listen to your logical words. The universe blindly obeys the purpose you assign to your energy. When you set aside $1,000 from your paycheck and tell yourself, I'm going to save this money in case I get sick, in case I crash the car, or in case I am fired, you have just committed tactical suicide. You are not protecting yourself. You are signing a binding contract with the hologram. You have just paid the Matrix in advance to send you a tragedy that costs exactly $1,000. You have assigned a specific mission to that money. And since money is conscious energy seeking to manifest its creator's decree, those $1,000 will not rest until they fulfill their purpose. Suddenly, a month later, your car suffers an inexplicable breakdown. The mechanic tells you, the repair costs $1,000, and you, in your slave blindness, sigh with relief and say, thank goodness I had my emergency savings. You are a monumental fool. The car did not break by accident. Your emergency savings account collapsed the probability wave and broke your car to justify its own existence. You orchestrated the misfortune yourself with your fear. The stagnant water disease. Let's bring this to fluid physics. Money is not stone, money is water. It is current. That is why it is called currency. Its biological and quantum nature is flow, movement, and speed. What happens to river water when it flows at high speed? It is crystalline water. It is alive. It generates hydroelectric energy. It oxygenates life. Moving water has a gravitational mass that is destructive and creative at the same time. But what happens to water when you lock it in a dark pit and do not allow it to move? It stagnates, it rots, it fills with parasites, toxic algae, and deadly bacteria. It becomes a poisonous swamp. That is exactly what happens to your money. When you put it in a savings account out of fear of the future, you cut off the quantum circulation. You take away the electromagnetic oxygen. Your stagnant money rots. And that rotten, dark, and fearful energy begins to radiate poverty radiation into your entire auric field. You can have $100,000 saved. But if you saved them out of terror of being poor, you vibrate exactly like the homeless man sleeping on the street. You are a beggar with a bloated bank account, and the hologram sooner or later will snatch that money from you to match your miserable vibration. The master scam of the banking system. Who invented the nobility of saving? The owners of the world. The true alpha predators of the Matrix, the bankers. They tell you, through friendly advertising, that you must bring them your money and leave it immobile in their vault so it is safe. They offer you a pathetic 1% annual interest as a reward for your obedience. You, the obedient slave, hand over the fruit of your sweat. You feel safe, you go to sleep peacefully. While you sleep, the banker takes your stagnant money and injects it violently into the bloodstream of the global economy. The banker does not save your money. The banker moves it at the speed of light. The banker invests your money in corporations, buys debts, finances wars, builds skyscrapers, and generates 1,000% return. He uses your energy to multiply his empire. They become immensely rich using the kinetics of your money, while keeping you paralyzed, giving you crumbs, and charging you fees for the privilege. Saving is the tax that cowards pay for not having the courage to direct their own energy. The small mind syndrome. Saving out of fear implies a disgusting subconscious assumption. It implies that you believe the supply of wealth is limited. It implies that you believe the money you earned was a stroke of luck that probably won't happen again. You think, better save it, because I don't know if I'll be able to generate this amount again. That is the statement of an impotent laborer. It is the absolute denial of your identity as a sovereign creator. If you were the owner of a magic printing press that could print $100 bills at infinite will, would you worry about keeping the bills under the bed? Would you be afraid to spend them? Of course not. You would know that if you spend $100,000 today, tomorrow you can turn on the machine and print 100,000 more. Compulsive accumulation would lose all its meaning. The unbreakable monster knows that his mind is that infinite printing press. The sovereign is not afraid of hitting zero in his physical account. He knows his quantum account never runs dry. Physical money can disappear today at 3 in the afternoon, and the sovereign, without moving a facial muscle, collapses another timeline and wakes up with double the money the next day. He does not need emergency savings because his self-concept is his permanent emergency guarantee. Tactical liquidity versus fear savings. But then, should I spend all my money like an irresponsible idiot and end up on the street? That is the reactive question of the three-dimensional ego trying to defend its comfort zone. Do not be primitive. The sovereign creator is not a compulsive buyer of trash. The sovereign does not spend money to fill emotional voids. The sovereign destroys fear savings and replaces them with tactical liquidity. Physically, both look the same. Money kept in a bank account, but quantumly they are opposite universes. Fear savings is a splintered wooden shield you use to hide from life's blows. It is money that prays to never be used. It is defensive energy. Tactical liquidity is a battalion of snipers loaded and aiming at the market's head. It is money sitting in the waiting room, breathing fire, desperate to be deployed to conquer territory. When you have tactical liquidity, you are not saving money in case you get sick. You are parking liquid funds for an asymmetric opportunity. When the market collapses and blood runs through the streets, you can fire that capital like a missile and buy the entire world at fire sale prices. Fear savings waits for personal tragedy. Tactical liquidity waits for the empire's opportunity. The frequency of one attracts ruin, the frequency of the other attracts the crown. Burning the ships, the emperor's burn rate. To detoxify from the beggar's vibration, you sometimes have to perform extreme acts of faith in the physical world. You have to burn your ships to force your nervous system to trust the gravity of your self-concept. Many slaves earn $10,000, and instead of investing them in expanding their identity, they bury them. They bury them in a mediocre retirement fund. They won't touch until they are 60 and too old to enjoy it. They are postponing their majesty out of terror of the present. The unbreakable monster has an aggressive burn rate. The sovereign is willing to empty his account today if it means acquiring knowledge or an asset. He does not tremble when investing his last cent in his own empire. He does not feel the vertigo of the zero balance because he knows that the money he invests in himself does not leave his life. It simply transforms into gravitational mass. When you invest in your own greatness without fear, you demonstrate divine psychopathy. You demonstrate a level so overwhelming that the hologram becomes terrified of you. It realizes it cannot threaten you with starvation, and having lost the power to scare you, it surrenders and hands you the keys to the main vault. The murder of the word expensive. As long as you keep using the word expensive in your daily vocabulary, you will remain a servant. That restaurant is very expensive. That car is too expensive. That course is extremely expensive. Every time you pronounce that word, you are measuring the world's value through the millimeter ruler of your own financial limits. You are confessing to the universe that your thermostat is tiny and that external matter intimidates you. For the universe, the concept of expensive is a mathematical joke. Expensive for whom? For the beggar, $100 is expensive. For the billionaire, $100,000 is a rounding error. Things are not expensive. Things simply have a vibration level. If you cannot pay for something, do not say it is expensive. Say, I have not yet adjusted my thermostat to materialize that whim with the petty cash. Strip the emotional weight from the price tag. A high price is an invitation for you to stop being poor, the injection of sadistic joy in payment. The exact moment money leaves your possession into the hands of another is the moment your financial destiny is sealed. 99% of people suffer when they pay. When they swipe the credit card for dinner, they feel a pang in the stomach. When they pay rent, they feel resentment. They feel they are being emptied. That pang is the umbilical cord that ties you to misery. You have to reprogram your biological reaction to the act of paying. You have to inject a sadistic and arrogant joy every time money leaves your hands. When you pay a huge bill, I want you to smile. I want you to feel the texture of the bill and say in your mind, "Go, little soldiers, go and multiply. I am so obscenely abundant that I can throw this sum in the trash and not notice its absence." Paying must feel like the act of breathing. You are not afraid to exhale the air from your lungs because you have the absolute certainty that in the next millisecond, you can inhale new oxygen. You do not hold your breath for fear of running out. If you do, you suffocate and die. Money is the oxygen of the 3D economy. Exhale the bills with aristocratic contempt, and the universe will force you to inhale millions to maintain the pressure of your atmosphere. Decoupling security from the bank balance. Your final goal in this chapter is to reach a psychological state where your peace of mind does not depend at all on the numbers appearing in your bank account. If your tranquility is based on having $50,000 saved, you are vulnerable. If the bank goes bust tomorrow, your peace of mind will be destroyed. Your security will be anchored in physical matter, fragile and perishable. The true security of the sovereign is not anchored in the 3D world. His security is an impregnable bunker built in the 5th dimension. The sovereign says, "My security is my inexhaustible ability to collapse probability waves. They can take my companies, they can steal my savings and leave me naked in the desert. Give me 24 hours and I will be the owner of the oasis again, because I do not need matter. I build matter with my assumptions." When you reach that level of kamikaze detachment, you become the most dangerous creature. The destruction of the middle-class identity. Emergency savings are the cornerstone of the middle class. The middle class is the worst invention of social engineering. The extreme poor know they have nothing to lose, but the middle class is trapped in the purgatory of cowardly comfort. They have a mortgaged house, a mediocre savings fund. They have just enough not to starve, but they are so terrified of losing those small comforts that they never dare to risk everything for the absolute empire. Their safety fund is their padded coffin. It muffles the pain of slave existence so they don't realize they are dead inside. Destroy your middle-class identity. Repudiate the mediocrity of enough. You did not come to this hologram to have a quiet life without upsets. You came to devour the stars. You came to monopolize the industry. If you have savings making you feel comfortable and complacent, you are under anesthesia. Cut the anesthesia. Wake the predator's hunger. The transit toward aggressive expansion. You have murdered the beggar's vibration. You have purged yourself of the pathetic need to accumulate money out of terror of winter. You have turned your puddles of stagnant water into a tsunami of tactical liquidity. Your container is clean. Your identity is inflated with the divine arrogance of high prices. Your biological thermostat accepts opulence without flinching. You are ready, positioned and armored. You have the weapon loaded and the titanium shield on, but until now, we have been working inside your own mental castle. We have been fixing the plumbing of your own mind so that money flows. It is time to go out and hunt in the concrete jungle. It is time to interact directly with the avatars who have physical money in their pockets and convince them to hand it over to you with a smile of absolute submission on their faces. Chapter 6. Sales Telepathy. Your internal container is armored. You are a perfect cold machine calibrated to hold millions of dollars without your heart rate altering. But three-dimensional wealth demands a material bridge. Physical money at this very millisecond is in the pockets, bank accounts, and credit cards of other people, of other avatars. The Matrix has told you that to make that money pass from their hands to yours, you have to convince them. They have told you that you must be charismatic, likable, eloquent, and persuasive. They have sold you thousands of courses on marketing, neurosales, and objection handling. They have taught you to recite scripts like a trained parrot so that the client please gives you their money. Today you are going to throw all that three-dimensional garbage into the fire. You are going to learn that persuasion is the weapon of the weak. The slave persuades, the king decrees. Welcome to the dark art of sales telepathy. You are going to learn to sit at a table, keep your mouth shut, and order the source code of your client to open their wallet with absolute and joyful submission. The three-dimensional marketing scam. The sales industry teaches you to fight in the mud. They teach you conversion funnels, aggressive closing techniques, and strategies to psychologically corner the buyer. Think about the vibration of all that effort. It is pure friction. It is biological wear and tear. When you use a sales script to refute an objection, you are validating the objection. You are admitting that the client's no has real weight in your universe. You are lowering yourself to their vibrational level to debate logic with a frightened hologram. The traditional salesman is a beggar in a designer suit. He sits in front of the client, shows them a PowerPoint full of boring graphics, begs for their attention, and in the end, crosses his sweaty fingers, hoping the client says yes. The client smells that quantum sweat. The client smells the need. Need is the most potent magnetic repellent in the universe. The unbreakable monster never tries to convince anyone. Convincing implies that the other has the power to doubt you. The sovereign does not sell. The sovereign allows others to have the sacred privilege of buying from them. The illusion of the client's free will. To hack someone else's wallet, you first have to destroy humanity's greatest illusion, the free will of the other. The law of assumption, dictated by great mystics like Neville Goddard, establishes an unbreakable rule. Everyone is you pushed out. The client in front of you is not a separate, independent entity with their own will. The client is a terminal connected to your own central server. They are a supporting actor reading the script that your own subconscious mind has just printed for them. If a client tells you your product is too expensive, it is not because they are stingy. It is because you, in the deepest part of your being, still believe your product is expensive. The client is only being the loudspeaker for your own doubt. If a client says, "I'll think about it," and disappears, it's not because the market is bad. It's because you entered the meeting with the biological fear of being rejected. The client's hologram fulfilled your expectation perfectly. You are the director of the movie. Do not complain that the actor forgot their line if you yourself handed them a script full of errors and strike-throughs. The hologram has no wallet, you have it. The fatal error of the salesman is believing that the money belongs to the client. The slave enters the meeting thinking, that man has $100,000 in his bank account. How do I take them from him? How do I convince him to give them to me? In the fifth dimension, that premise is false. The money does not belong to the client. The client isn't even real. The money is energy that already belongs to you, and the client is simply the three-dimensional distribution channel the universe has chosen to make the delivery to you. When you understand the money is already yours, the anxiety for the sale disappears. You are not asking the client for a favor. You are going to pick up a package that already has your name on the label. Your attitude changes from that of a hungry hunter to that of an emperor collecting taxes from his own territory. There is no pleading. There is tactical collection. The dark chamber, quantum pre-hacking. The sale is not closed in the boardroom. The sale is not closed on the Zoom call. If you try to close the sale in the physical world, you already lost. The sale is closed in the dark chamber of your mind, 10 minutes before interacting with the client. Before the meeting, you lock yourself in a room or go to the bathroom. You close your eyes, you disconnect your senses from the 3D world, and you collapse the probability wave on the astral plane. You do not visualize the meeting. You do not visualize the talk. You visualize the end of the transaction. You visualize the signature on the contract. You feel the handshake. You feel the weight of the physical money in your account. And most importantly, you feel the client's overwhelming gratitude for having had the honor of giving you their money. You assume the state of consummated victory. You soak yourself in the frequency of "it is already done." You feel a dense, heavy, and boring peace. You already have their money in your quantum pocket. When you open your eyes and leave the dark chamber, your biological body has mutated. Your body language is slow. You are going to a mere administrative procedure. The encounter, the silent gravity strike. You arrive at the negotiation table. The novice salesman enters talking. He greets with exaggerated enthusiasm. He tries to break the ice with pathetic jokes to be liked. He is giving away his energy to buy approval. The sovereign creator enters in silence. You execute the gravity strike. You enter 20% slower than the others. Your face is expressionless. You sit down. You do not adjust yourself frantically in the chair. You occupy your space with the heaviness of a mountain. You let the client speak first. You let the client break the silence. By refusing to fill the void with cheap talk, you force the client to enter your electromagnetic field. The client will feel the pressure. They will get nervous because of your stillness. Their reptilian brain will categorize you automatically as the alpha predator of the room. You just dominated the table without a single vowel. The fiber optic cable and the code injection. While the client tells you about their problems or corporate needs, you are not thinking about what to answer. You are not preparing your sales pitch. You are establishing the telepathic link. You fix your predatory gaze directly into their eyes. You don't look at them, you look through their skull. You look directly into their subconscious mind, bypassing their ego, their fears, and their logical defenses. While they speak, you telepathically inject the source code. In your mind, you repeat with a dictatorial and icy voice, "You are mine. Your budget belongs to me. You are desperate to give me this contract. It is the best decision of your life, and you will thank me for it. Surrender to my price." It is not a wish. It is an executive order from the high command of the universe. Your physical silence is the perfect pipe through which that quantum radiation travels. If you spoke, you would interrupt the signal. By being silent, the order penetrates their electromagnetic shield like a hot knife through butter. Real-time avatar corruption. If you maintain this assumption relentlessly, you will begin to see how the client's biological body reacts to your hacking. You will see that the client begins to convince themselves. Their initial objections vanish on their own. They will start saying things like, "Well, the truth is we need an urgent solution." They will believe that idea was theirs. They will believe they reached that logical conclusion through their own analysis. They do not know that you just planted that idea in their cerebral cortex using sales telepathy. You have corrupted them in real time. You have written their dialogue, and they are reading it out loud in front of you. Without realizing, they are puppets of your assumption. The price presentation, the scythe. The critical moment arrives. The client asks you, "Well, how much does it cost?" This is where the slave code sweats. The slave stammers. He mentions the price and quickly adds a justification. "It costs 50,000, but it includes this and that, and if you want, I'll give you a discount." The slave has just destroyed his own castle. By justifying the price, he has just told the client, "I know this is very expensive, and I'm embarrassed to ask you for so much money. Please don't be angry." The unbreakable monster uses price as a scythe. The client asks the price. You do not look away. You do not blink. You do not alter your tone of voice. You say it with the same coldness as you would state the time of day. It is $100,000. And you apply the killer pause. You shut your mouth. You lean back in the chair. You interlock your hands. And you wait. The terror of absolute silence. That silence after stating an absurd price is hell on earth for the client. It is a psychological abyss. You are depositing a ton of quantum lead on the table, and you are refusing to help the client carry it. You have left the price floating in the air. The client will expect you to speak to relieve the tension. They will expect you to offer a discount. They will expect you to explain why it costs $100,000. You are not going to explain anything. You are going to let them suffocate in their own discomfort. You are going to force them to deal with your arrogance. The golden rule in high-level negotiations is unbreakable. Whoever speaks first after presenting the price loses. If you break the silence to justify yourself, you have lost control of the contract. You have demonstrated weakness. If the client breaks the silence, their brain assumes you are the authority. Hold the gaze. Feel them squirm in their chair. Feel their logical mind trying to process why you are not desperate for their money. That silence is what closes seven-figure sales. The quantum destruction of objections. What if the client, trying to defend their ego, throws a three-dimensional objection at you? What if they say, "It's too much money, the competition charges half"? The mediocre salesman starts to argue. He pulls out a brochure and explains why his product is better. He tries to beat logic with more logic. The sovereign never defends their price. Defending yourself is validating the insult. If they tell you it's very expensive and the competition charges less, you smile with an icy compassion, a smile of someone looking at a small child saying something stupid. And you respond with the absolute neutrality of the black hole. I understand. Then you should hire the competition. I wish you the best of luck. And you apply the icy silence again. The implosion of the corporate ego. That response decapitates the client's ego. The client threw the price objection, expecting you to lower your rates to retain them. They expected you to beg them. By telling them to go to the competition with total tranquility, you have just taken away the only weapon they had, their money. You have just demonstrated that their $100,000 do not matter to you at all. You have shown that your tactical liquidity and your quantum thermostat are so high that the loss of their contract does not move the needle of your EKG. Panic will seize them. Their reptilian brain will say, if this man is willing to let $100,000 go without arguing, it means he knows something I don't. It means his value is real and the cheap competition is a trap. I cannot let him go. Your willingness to lose the money was the irrefutable demonstration of value. Rejection telepathy, rewriting the no. Sometimes the hologram's friction is dense. The client, trapped in their own financial fears, gives you a resounding no. We are not going to buy it. We don't have the budget. This is where the children are separated from the gods. The slave hears the no, packs up, leaves, and gets depressed, and gets. The slave accepted the illusion of the material world. He surrendered to a delayed echo. The unbreakable monster hears the no from the avatar's physical lips, but his mind does not register it. His subconscious mind has a firewall that blocks any word implying scarcity or rejection. You look the client in the eyes and telepathically order them, that response is unacceptable in my timeline. Your no is an error in your programming. I am the creator, and I order you to change your mind right now. You do not discuss their refusal out loud. You simply ignore the no and change the subject. By not giving reactive energy to their refusal, the no runs out of oxygen. It dies in the air. The matrix, which always obeys the most dominant and effortless assumption, is forced to correct the scene. The client will start to doubt their own decision. They will say, well, maybe if we finance it this way. You just resurrected a dead contract. You hack the no barrier by refusing to recognize its mathematical existence. The art of walking away, absolute vacuum. There is a tactical moment, a supreme technique of the seduction of absence applied to sales, that annihilates any buyer's will. The early withdrawal. If you notice the client is hesitant, playing games, or disrespecting you by demanding absurd discounts, do not wait for them to end the meeting. End it yourself. Close your notebook. Put away your pen slowly and deliberately. Rise from the chair with maximum elegance. Look down at them and say with a cold, disinterested tone, I have realized you are not ready for this level of investment. It has been a pleasure meeting you, but I withdraw my offer from the table. Turn around and walk toward the door. Do not look back. The suction of the black hole. What occurs in the client's psyche in those 3 seconds as you walk toward the exit is a quantum implosion. Humans want what they cannot have. Humans madly desire that which is snatched from their hands. By withdrawing the offer and judging them as unfit for your level, you activated their inferiority complex. They have been rejected by someone superior. Their ego cannot stand it. In 99% of cases, the gravity of your departure will create such a gigantic vacuum in the room that they will be sucked toward you. They will ask you to stay. They will sign the contract on the hood of your car if necessary. And if you happen to walk out of the building without the signature, you have won anyway. You have trained your mind not to accept 3-dimensional trash. You have solidified your identity as king. The quantum field will reward you by sending you a better and richer client the next day. The predator's ethics is this black magic. The moralistic slave, indoctrinated by religion and social weakness, will read all this and feel horror. He will say, this is manipulation, this is black magic. Let me crush that cheap morality. Everything in this universe is quantum manipulation. You are injecting assumptions into others all the time. When you assume a client won't buy, you are manipulating them to reject you. The only difference is that before you manipulated them to act from their worst version, and now you will manipulate them to operate in excellence. When you use sales telepathy to close a $100,000 deal, you do them a favor. You are using quantum manipulation to force them to invest in their own growth. You are pulling them out of their stingy and cowardly mentality. You are teaching them the standard of opulence. The predator hunts the sick deer to keep the herd strong. Your arrogance is a high-frequency public service. Avatar submission and joyful payment. When the hacking is complete, the end result is not a resentful client who paid out of obligation. The result is a client who pays with submission, devotion, and gratitude. Because you led the interaction from absolute silence, they feel that signing the contract was an exclusive privilege you granted them. They will shake your hand. They will thank you repeatedly for having accepted their money. They will treat you like a financial deity. They have been bent by your frequency, and in their 3D blindness, they believe they just made the best decision of their lives. Money flows like a river seeking the sea. The poker face after the contract. You have hacked the wallet. You have closed the $1 million deal. You leave the building with the signed contract or the transfer made. Your animal instinct will be to scream with euphoria in the car. You will want to call your partner to tell them of the victory. Stop. Break cold. Remember the silence in victory. If you jump for joy because you closed a $100,000 deal, you are telling your subconscious that closing such deals is an extraordinary and unusual miracle. You are devaluing your normality. You are saying, "Wow, I can't believe someone paid me this." If you don't believe it, your thermostat will detect the shock and cut off the supply for next month. The sovereign gets into his car, looks at the contract, nods with a bored indifference, and says out loud, "Exactly as I ordered in the dark chamber, a simple procedure, nothing new in the empire." You start the engine and go eat at a good restaurant in silence. Normalizing massive opulence is the hermetic seal that guarantees the flow of millions never stops. You become shock-proof. Chapter 7. Tactical Contempt for Money. You have hacked the system. You have destroyed your quantum thermostat, inflated your identity and bent the client's will in the 5th dimension. You have crossed the abyss. Physical money has begun to flow into your vaults. The zeros in your bank account are multiplying. Matter has surrendered to your assumption. You hold the loot. And right here at the peak of 3-dimensional success is where 99% of the nouveau riche make the most pathetic mistake of their lives. The exact moment they get the money, they fall in love with it. They put it on a pedestal. They worship it as a false god. They become paranoid and obsessive out of fear of losing what they manifested. By doing this, they activate an electromagnetic time bomb that will destroy their empire to its foundations. Today you will learn the most advanced, elite, and dark level of financial psychology. You will learn to treat your own wealth with the absolute disdain of an emperor. Welcome to Tactical Contempt. You will discover why money is a wild beast that only submits to those who have the courage to turn their back on it. The psychology of the jealous beast. To dominate money on a large scale, you must understand its quantum personality. Money is not an inert object, it is an energetic entity. It is a current of power. And like every entity of power, money has the psychology of a wild, jealous, and deeply narcissistic beast. Imagine money as a predatory feline. What does a cat do when you run toward it? Desperate to pet it, waving your arms and begging for its attention. The cat gets scared, looks at you with contempt, and flees to hide under the bed. But what does that same cat do when you sit on the sofa, open a book, ignore it completely, and submerge yourself in your own world? The cat, intrigued by your lack of need, slowly approaches. It sniffs your shoes. It jumps onto the sofa. And finally, it curls up in your lap, purring and demanding to be part of your gravitational field. Money operates under the exact same law of behavioral physics. When you desperately need money, when you count pennies and pursue bills with your tongue out, the beast smells your desperation, it smells your slave vibration, and it flees from you at the speed of light toward the bank accounts of the men who do not plead. The blasphemy of toxic gratitude. New Age spirituality, designed to keep the masses docile, has sold you a toxic lie about your relationship with money. False gurus tell you, you have to love money. You have to bless every cent you find. You have to write a gratitude journal and cry with joy every time you get paid. What a sickeningly servile philosophy. Exaggerated emotional gratitude for money is a blasphemy against your own self-concept. It is the attitude of a stray dog that has just been thrown a bone with a bit of meat. The dog wags its tail, barks with joy, and licks its master's hand. The unbreakable monster does not wag its tail when receiving $1 million. The sovereign understands that money is simply a cheap tool of the 3D world. It is an organic byproduct of his own mind. Do you write a gratitude journal crying with emotion because your body produces saliva? Do you throw a party because your kidneys filter blood? Of course not. You assume it as a natural and boring function. Money must be treated with that same physiological neutrality. When a massive transfer hits your account, you do not cry out thanks to the universe. You look at the screen and say, "It is the least I expected." Next. That lack of wonder, that tactical and arrogant ingratitude, proves to the beast that you are its owner, not its pet. The faceless mercenary. You have to change the role money plays in the play of your mind. The slave sees money as his savior. He sees money as his protective father. The sovereign sees money as a faceless mercenary. A mercenary is a soldier for hire. He is cheap. He is replaceable. His only function in your kingdom is to go to war and bring you trophies. You are the king sitting on the throne. You do not fall in love with your mercenaries. You do not invite the infantry soldier to dine at your main table. You give a cold order, send him to the front line, investments, business, expansion, and forget about him. If a battalion of mercenaries dies in battle, the king does not cry. The king yawns, snaps his fingers, and hires 2 more battalions with the snap of his quantum will. When you treat money as a replaceable servant, you strip away all its emotional power over your nervous system. You strip it of its mysticism. You turn it into plastic and paper. Tactical contempt in action. Tactical contempt is not hating money. Hating money is another way of giving it importance. If you hate the rich or feel disgusted by capitalism, you are vibrating in resentment, which is a high-friction emotion. Money will flee from you just as fast. Tactical contempt is icy indifference. It is looking at a pile of gold and feeling the exact same emotion as if you were looking at a pile of clay bricks. This indifference is practiced daily. It is practiced in the supermarket, in the purchase of assets, and in reviewing your accounts. When you pay for a $1,000 dinner, do not squint at the receipt. You hand over your credit card without looking. You sign the receipt while maintaining eye contact with the waiter or your companion, talking about a completely different topic. Your body language must scream. The act of parting with $1,000 is such a tiny and pathetic event that it does not deserve a second of my focus. You are humiliating matter. You are demonstrating an aesthetic disdain for the physical transaction, and the quantum field, detecting that the loss of money causes you not the slightest pain, opens the floodgates to flood you with more wealth because it knows you will offer no resistance. The trial by fire, the simulated loss. The Matrix is an intelligent system. It is a mirror that will constantly test the density of your new identity. When you declare you are no longer a slave to money, the Matrix will throw a simulated loss at you. Suddenly, the stock market drops and your portfolio loses 30%. A client refuses to pay a huge bill. A fake sovereign, seeing he loses $50,000, panics. He takes off the mask, he starts shouting, calling lawyers, crying with rage, and complaining about the world's injustice. The fake sovereign just failed the exam. The Matrix smiles and proceeds to take the rest of his fortune in the coming months. The ego implosion during the theft. The unbreakable monster faces the simulated loss in a way that terrifies psychiatrists. You have just been scammed out of $100,000. You check the bank account. You see the black hole. Your animal biology tries to inject cortisol into your blood. Your ego screams at you to be enraged. You close your eyes. Inhale deeply. Flip the biological switch of your limbic system. Lean back in your chair. Open your eyes. And let out a cold, short, dry laugh. You laugh at the audacity of the hologram. You laugh at the simulation's pathetic attempt to scare you. You say aloud, 100,000, what a boring trick. I can manifest that trash back before Friday. You do not pursue the lost money with fury. If there is a logical legal procedure, you delegate it to a lawyer without involving a single calorie of your emotion. You treat the theft as a ridiculous operating expense. By not giving the Matrix the feast of your fear, the loss collapses. The universe realizes extortion does not work with you. You have proven that your peace of mind is not negotiable or for sale. The quantum field will return that money multiplied by 10 through unexpected channels. simply as a side effect of your electromagnetic immobility. The indestructible identity, I am not my vault. The lethal danger of becoming a millionaire is that you start confusing your identity with your bank account. The rich slave says, I am a millionaire. I am worth $10 million. If your identity is tied to 10 million, you are a castle on a sand cliff. If a recession destroys those millions, you disintegrate. The sovereign creator says, I am the infinite intelligence. The fact that my physical avatar has 10 million in its pocket right now is an unimportant geographical accident. Your identity must be completely divorced from the bank balance. You must cultivate a detachment so radical that losing it all generates no irregular heartbeat. You must walk through your mansion, look at your sports cars, observe your empire, and say in silence, I could burn all of this to the ground today, walk into the desert naked, and I would still be the absolute god of my reality. I can rebuild this city from ashes in a week. That is the power of the void. The paradox of financial detachment. Here is where the black magic of alchemy manifests in all its splendor and cruelty. The less you give a damn about money, the more obsessed money will be with you. When you look at your businesses and millions with an elegant, tactical contempt, when you dedicate yourself to sculpting your self-concept, money feels ignored, the beast feels rejected, and by pure law of polarity, money will begin to pursue you with obscene violence. Business opportunities you didn't seek will rain down. Investors will beg you to accept their capital. Properties you buy will double in value by market luck. Abundance will pursue you like a desperate stalker, trying to get the attention of the master who has turned his back on it. You will drown in an opulence so massive and easy that it will become almost comical. You must be genuinely willing to live without it, to be given the keys to the infinite vault. Nouveau riche syndrome is the weight of King Midas. This tactical contempt must also apply to your aesthetics and how you behave. When the slave gets money, he becomes the nouveau riche. He buys clothes covered in giant logos. He buys ridiculous gold chains. He talks loudly in restaurants about his deals. He posts photos of cash stacks on Instagram. The nouveau riche makes noise because he is terrified people won't realize he has money. His ego is still that of a frightened beggar seeking validation from other beggars. He is a jester with a platinum card. The sovereign who has mastered tactical contempt develops the weight of King Midas. Quiet opulence. You wear the best quality on the planet, but without a single visible logo. You drive the most lethal machine, but you don't rev it at traffic lights to get attention. You pay the bills for entire tables without telling anyone and withdraw in silence. Your relationship with your wealth is a private, cold romance. You don't need the dead avatars of the Matrix to applaud your bank balance. You know what you have. The universe knows what you have. That zero-sum complicity is the highest level of divine arrogance. The trivialization of the $1 million. To definitively domesticate the financial beast, you have to kill the mythology of the $1 million. Hollywood and society have programmed you to see the $1 million as the Holy Grail, as the peak of Everest, as a mystical achievement only reached by the chosen ones. If you keep seeing $1 million as a giant mountain, your subconscious will require a giant effort to climb it. Tactical contempt demands that you apply mathematical trivialization. You have to start looking at $1 million as a pathetic, mundane, and boring figure. Inject this thought into your dark chamber. $1 million is bread change. It is the pocket money I use for tips in the fifth dimension. It is a figure so small and basic that I am lazy to even materialize it. Lower the status of money. Humiliate the figure. Laugh at the amount. When you make $1 million look like a penny in your mental ecosystem, the friction to get it disappears. Your quantum thermostat will say, oh, he just wants the universe's small change, no problem, grant it to him. You will achieve in weeks what would take the hard-working slave 40 years. The art of burning the physical bill. Mental hack. If your fear of losing money is very severe, you will perform an exercise in three-dimensional psychopathy. Go to the ATM. Withdraw the highest denomination bill in your local currency, $100, 500 euros, whatever. A bill that for you represents a good dinner or a significant expense. Go to your house, light a candle, take the bill in your hands, and you are going to burn it. You will watch how the fire consumes the paper. You will observe the cellulose become black ash, and as it burns, you will observe your own mind. Your ego will scream, "You're crazy, you could have bought food." That screaming voice is the poverty parasite lodged in your brainstem. It is the slave crying for his chains. As the bill disintegrates, you smile. You drink the panic of your own ego. You decree, "Money is my slave. I create and destroy it at will. My wealth is the forge that just lit this fire." You just broke the spell of the physical world. You have sacrificed a symbol of the matrix to prove to your subconscious that matter has no authority over your state of peace. Tactical note: you only need to do this exercise once in your life. The violent dissonance it generates will destroy your ties, the emancipation from cause and effect. When tactical contempt becomes your natural state of consciousness, a terrifying mutation occurs in your timeline. You emancipate yourself from the law of cause and effect of the 3D world. In 3D, to earn more money, effect, you have to work more hours, cause. It is a rigid and linear math. When you become the indifferent sovereign, cause and effect divorce. You stop working. You fire clients because they bore you. You close business lines because they are no longer fun. According to 3D logic, your income should plummet into the abyss. But the quantum effect obeys your gravitational mass. Because your detachment is absolute and your identity is inflated, income not only doesn't fall but doubles through channels that defy explanation. You receive an inheritance. Land you bought and forgot, tactical contempt, is suddenly over an oil well. An old investor sends a royalty check. The Matrix, desperate to keep the equation of your high frequency balanced with your bank account, will seek the most absurd, miraculous, and effortless shortcuts to throw gold upon you. You have broken the software. You are the king playing dice with loaded dice of your own making. The sovereign's ultimate flex. Tactical contempt culminates in a single non-negotiable skill, the maximum power of the unbreakable monster, the ultimate flex. It is the clinical, icy, and instantaneous ability to get up from the table and walk away from any amount of money in the world if it compromises your peace of mind. They offer you a $10 million contract. You read the clauses. You discover the investor demands you work weekends or account for your every move, treating you like a luxury employee. The slave says, "It's 10 million. I'll endure it for a few years." The slave just sold his soul for paper. The sovereign closes the folder, looks at the investor who thinks he has God by the beard thanks to his 10 million. The sovereign stands up, smiles with murderous politeness and says, "My sovereignty is not on sale. Keep your 10 million. You do not have the budget to buy my stress." And you leave the room never to return. That is the climax of tactical contempt. The instant you prove to life that not even $10 million can buy your peace, your price in the cosmic market just ascended to infinity. You have become a priceless being. You are literally incalculable. Preparing the temporal collapse. You have learned to despise matter. You have humiliated physical money. You have torn out its mystical power, turned it into a cheap mercenary, and proven you do not fear its absence. The beast is seduced. It belongs to you. Infinite supply is guaranteed because you deactivated your resistance. But the 3D ego has one last prison. The slave will say, "I understand, I will apply tactical contempt. I will be patient and wait 10 years for my empire to materialize." That is the Matrix's last scam. Time. In the next chapter, we will destroy the hands of the clock. We will murder the calendar. I will teach you why 10-year plans are the guarantee of a decade of misery, and how to execute quantum leaps to compress decades of financial success into 6 months of terrifying temporal compression. Prepare to rewrite physics. You will learn to materialize the future in the here and now. Chapter 8. The Financial Time Collapse. You have been sold the last great lie, the final barrier that keeps your self-concept prisoner in the third dimension. They have told you that good things take time. They have told you that Rome wasn't built in a day. They have indoctrinated you with the most pathetic, castrating, and paralyzing mantra in human history. Everything comes in due time. That is the philosophy of losers. It is the comfort of beggars who do not have the courage to demand their empire today. Patience, in the context of quantum creation, is not a virtue, it is a declaration of impotence. It is telling the universe, I don't believe I am worthy of having this now, so I will sit and suffer for 5 years to prove I deserve it. The sovereign creator does not wait. The unbreakable monster does not stand in line. Linear time is an optical hallucination of the matrix designed exclusively to keep the masses exhausted, aging, and paying taxes. Today we are going to break the hourglass. We are going to fracture the 3D timeline. You are going to learn to execute the quantum leap, compressing decades of supposed effort into months or weeks of terrifying and obscene materialization. The deadly trap of the 10-year plan. Open any finance book for slaves, and you will find the same rotten advice. Make a 10-year plan. Save 10% of your salary. Invest in a conservative fund, and when you are 65, you will be a millionaire. That is the perfect recipe to guarantee you a lifetime of misery, anxiety, and restrictions. When you design a 10-year plan to become rich, you are collapsing a very specific mathematical probability wave. You are commanding the matrix. Keep me away from my wealth for 9 years and 11 months. Make the process long and difficult. And the matrix, being a blind servant, will obey. It will give you a decade of obstacles. It will send you intermediate economic crises. It will make you sweat blood to justify the time frame that you yourself imposed. The 10-year plan is a shield used by your biological ego so as not to have to face the responsibility of being immensely powerful today. It is more comfortable to say, I will be rich, than to be a god right now. Time does not exist. Fifth-dimensional physics. Stop thinking like a primate and start thinking like quantum physics. Time, as you perceive it, does not exist. Albert Einstein already proved it in the 3D world. Time is relative. But in the fifth dimension, in the field of consciousness where assumptions are forged, time is an absolute fiction. There is no past, there is no future. There exists only an eternal, vast, and overwhelming now. All possible realities, all versions of yourself, exist simultaneously in this very millisecond. The version of you that is broke exists now, and the version of you that is a billionaire emperor also exists now. They are tuned to different channels, but both are transmitting. The slave believes he has to walk the timeline for years to reach the rich version. The sovereign creator simply changes the channel. He presses a button in his mind and moves his consciousness to the parallel reality where the empire is already built. That is the quantum leap. It is not a trip. It is a teleportation of identity. The anatomy of the quantum leap. What exactly is a quantum leap in business and life? In subatomic physics, when an electron jumps from a low-energy orbit to a high-energy orbit, it does not travel through the intermediate space. It disappears from the low orbit and reappears instantly in the high orbit. There is no path, there is no physical transition. That is the model you are going to apply to your finances. Linear growth, the path of the slave, is earning 10% more each year. It is climbing the ladder, step by step, sweating and panting. The quantum leap is being in the basement, closing your eyes, altering your frequency, and opening your eyes in the penthouse of the city's tallest building. You go from earning $3,000 a month to billing $300,000 in a single transaction. You go from being unknown to having the monopoly of your industry with a single chess move. To achieve this, you must commit the greatest act of anarchy. You must refuse to cross the bridge. Burning the how, the bridge of incidents. The logical ego is obsessed with the how. If you tell your ego that you're going to earn $10 million this month, your left brain will panic. It will start calculating, we don't have the product, we don't have the clients, the math doesn't add up. That is the limit of the biological computer. It is trying to build a wooden bridge to cross the ocean. The law of assumption, taught masterfully by Neville Goddard, requires you to inhabit the end. You have to go directly to the finish line. You have to olympically ignore the intermediate steps. When you assume the identity of the emperor, infinite intelligence orchestrates. It orchestrates the bridge of incidents, and the bridge of infinite intelligence is never logical. It is never linear. It is a series of strange events, brutal coincidences, and inexplicable luck that drag you at the speed of light toward your destination. If you try to micromanage the how, you destroy the miracle. You reinsert friction and time. You have to let go of the process and demand only the final result. The denial of the painful process. Humanity loves the narrative of pain. They love movies where the protagonist suffers for 2 hours and in the last 5 minutes triumphs. That is the romanticization of agony. They have made you believe that success is only valid if you have a story of tears to tell. You want your own sad movie montage to feel like a hero. Kill your inner hero. The hero is a martyr. The unbreakable monster does not want to be a hero, he wants to be the owner of the casino. Reject the painful process. You do not need to spend years eating trash and sleeping on the floor to deserve the yacht. That is a toll invented by the mediocre to punish the ambitious. Decree in your dark chamber. My success will be sudden, overwhelming, and devoid of 3D effort. I refuse to suffer to learn. I learn through expansion, not through trauma. When you take away the Matrix's permission to torture you, time collapses. The hologram no longer has to process months of pain and gives you the crown. The murder of memory, tactical amnesia. To jump to a new orbit, you cannot carry the baggage of the previous one. You cannot travel at the speed of light if you are carrying a backpack full of stones. Your stones are your financial memories, your past failures, your debts, the time you went bust, the time a client scammed you. Your ego uses the past to predict the future. It says, since we failed yesterday, it will surely take years to recover tomorrow. The sovereign creator suffers from tactical amnesia. It is an intentional and sociopathic Alzheimer's. The sovereign wakes up every morning and erases his history. The past is dead, it does not exist. If yesterday you were broke, that was another avatar. Fair dead hologram. Today you are a completely new entity, with no karmic credit history, a blank slate, and infinite authority. If someone reminds you of your failure, you look at them with empty eyes. I have no memory of participating in that timeline. By denying your past, you cut the power source of your limitations. The speed of implementation, Wu Wei applied. Collapsing time does not mean staying in a coma in bed. It means that when infinite intelligence gives you an order through intuition, you execute with an aggressiveness and speed that breaks the sound barrier. This is called speed of implementation. You are having coffee in a state of vacuum and tactical contempt. Suddenly an idea enters your brain. It is an idea that seems too bold. An impulse to raise your prices by 500%. An impulse to call a big fish in the industry. The slave writes the idea in a notebook. He thinks about it. He consults with his pillow. He loses 2 weeks debating with his fear. The energy rots and dies. The sovereign receives the idea and fires. In the same second. He consults no one. He does not analyze risks. He grabs the phone and makes the call. He changes the prices on his website immediately. He executes the move before his own biological ego has time to process the fear. That is the inspired action. That is the action that has no friction, because it travels at the same speed as the quantum field. When you act without hesitation in the instant of inspiration, you compress a year of hard work into 5 minutes of divine daring. The biological vertigo of the leap. High-level tactical warning. When you execute a quantum leap, your biological body is going to feel like it is hitting a wall at 200 miles per hour. When you go from charging $1,000 to charging $100,000 in a single week, your nervous system will collapse. You will feel vertigo, you will feel nausea, you will feel imposter syndrome screaming in your neck. Your primate body is not designed for such violent accelerations. It will believe you are in mortal danger because you are leaving the familiar cave of poverty. The novice, feeling this vertigo, gets scared. He takes a step back, he sabotages the business. The unbreakable monster savors the vertigo. When you feel that biological panic, do not retreat. Look at your shaking hands and smile. It is the irrefutable proof that you just broke the financial sound barrier. Tell your body, shut up, you aren't going to die. Slave lungs are useless here in the stratosphere. Endure the discomfort of sudden victory. In 3 days, your nervous system will adapt to the new altitude, and the $100,000 will seem like the new normal boredom. The I Am Time Machine. For the quantum leap to hold in the 3D hologram, you have to watch the language you use in the privacy of your own skull. You have to banish the word will from your vocabulary. I will be a millionaire. I will close that contract. I will soon have success. Every time you use the future tense, you push it away. You are decreeing that wealth is something that will happen tomorrow. And since tomorrow never comes, the Matrix will keep you in a state of eternal pursuit. The carrot tied to the stick in front of the donkey. The language of the fifth dimension is exclusively the present tense, the I am. The name of God is not I will be, it is I am that I am. You decree in your mind, I am a multimillionaire, the money is already in my quantum account, the contract is already signed. You have to force your brain to feel success as a historical event that already happened in the past and you are simply experiencing it now. Feeling the fatigue of consummated success. The most powerful technique to collapse time and force reality to manifest instantly is to feel success fatigue. Do not visualize the moment they hand you the $1 million. That generates too much adrenaline and takes you out of the state of neutrality. Visualize the moment 5 years after becoming a millionaire. Feel the bored exhaustion of having to sign another huge check. Feel the slight annoyance of having to coordinate your team of accountants. Feel the routine. Imagine you are sitting in your mansion, sighing with boredom because you already have everything the material world can offer. You are looking for what to do on Sunday. That fatigue is the heaviest anchor you can throw into the quantum field. You are proving to the universe that not only did you already cross the finish line, but you have been living in success so long that it even seems trivial. Time disintegrates before that level of assumption. The rejection of hope, the cynic's virtue. Hope is the creator's cancer. They tell you that you should have hope that things improve, that you should maintain faith in the future. Hope implies doubt. If you hope to get paid tomorrow, it means there is a probability in your mind that they won't. Hope is the vibration of slaves praying for rain. The unbreakable monster has no hope. The sovereign has cynical certainty. You don't hope the hologram bends, you know it. You look at it with the same bored certainty with which you know the sun will rise. You don't get excited, you don't pray, you don't cross your fingers. Tactical cynicism kills time. By being absolutely convinced of the result, the when becomes irrelevant. And paradoxically, when you stop caring about the when completely, the universe delivers it to you in that very instant. Space-time compression in the sale. Let's apply temporal collapse to a physical business interaction. You are at the negotiation table. The client tells you, I love the proposal. I'll review it with my board and give you an answer next month. The slave salesman smiles, thanks him, and goes home to suffer for 30 days. The slave submitted to the illusion. The sovereign creator applies temporal compression. You look at the client and say with a dictatorial and soft voice, next month my fee will be double or my schedule will be closed. You have 48 hours to make the decision. If you can't operate at this speed, you aren't the type of company I work with. You get up and leave. You just fractured their timeline. You have created a gravitational singularity. The fear of loss, FOMO, and the terror of your authority will force them to skip all their mediocre bureaucratic processes. They will collapse their own corporate time to obey your ultimatum. You dictate the speed of the matrix. If you accelerate and demand immediacy with total detachment from losing the deal, the world turns faster to please you. The murder of biological age. The last bastion of time is the belief in age. I am too young to charge $100,000. I am too old to start an empire. Those are the excuses of an avatar that has believed the lie of its birth date. Your biological age is a number on a plastic ID created by a 3D government. It has zero authority. There are 60-year-old slaves who operate with the fear of a child. There are 20-year-old monsters who enter a boardroom and emit the gravity of an ancient Roman emperor. Disconnect your identity from your age. Assume you are an ancestral, timeless being. Do not be intimidated by men with 30 years of experience. 30 years of experience repeating the same slave mistakes are worth nothing compared to 1 second of awakened and sovereign consciousness. Chapter 9. Recession Immunity. You have reached a level of quantum danger that the three-dimensional system cannot easily tolerate. You have dematerialized money. You have murdered physical effort. You inflated your identity, hacked the minds of your clients, and crushed the clock of linear time. You are operating at astronomical speeds. But the Matrix, in its desperate attempt to keep you within the herd of slaves, has a final weapon of mass destruction. A weapon designed not to attack you directly, but to poison the air you breathe. That weapon is collective fear, the mass hallucination of the global crisis. Suddenly, you turn on the television and see the headlines in blood red. Imminent recession. Inflation devours savings. Massive unemployment. Stock market collapse. Your friends call you terrified. Your family tells you that expenses must be cut. Your clients tell you the market is frozen. If you listen to that noise, if you allow a single gram of that collective hysteria to penetrate the walls of your black box, your empire will crumble in weeks. Not because the economy is real, but because you will have accepted the script of misery that the Matrix just handed to you. Today you are going to learn to build a lead wall around your mind. You are going to learn to execute economic secession. You will discover why recessions are holographic illusions designed to rob the blind, and how the sovereign creator becomes a one-man monopoly. The great theater of panic, the macroeconomic scam. The global economy is not a physical entity. It is not a breathing beast. It is a psychological construct. It is a hallucination shared by 8 billion avatars who have agreed to believe in the same nightmare. What is a recession in the 3D world? It is simply the moment when the mass of slaves decide to stop moving their money. Fear paralyzes the circulation of capital. When capital is paralyzed, companies go bust. When companies go bust, they fire the slaves, and the cycle of misery is self-fulfilling. This whole theater was started by a thought of scarcity injected through television screens by the elites who control the game. They need the recession. They need the panic. Because when the slave panics, he sells his houses, his shares, and his companies at fire sale prices. And guess who is on the other side of the table, in absolute silence, buying the whole world for pennies on the dollar? The unbreakable monster. The law of conservation of wealth. There is a mathematical fallacy that the slave believes during crises. The slave says, the money has disappeared, the economy has shrunk. What profound stupidity! In thermodynamic physics, energy is neither created nor destroyed. It is only transformed. In quantum economics, money does not disappear, it only changes hands. When the stock market loses trillions of dollars in a week, those bills did not evaporate into thin air. They did not burn in a giant bonfire. That money was simply transferred from the trembling hands of frightened novices to the lead vaults of the sovereigns who remained calm. The recession is the most violent and efficient wealth transfer mechanism in human history. It is the cosmic vacuum cleaner that absorbs the capital of cowards and hands it to kings. Your only job during a world crisis is to make sure you are positioned on the right side of the vacuum. You are not the dust. The fasting from terror, the king's media diet. To achieve this immunity, you have to commit an act of social anarchy. You have to apply an absolute information blackout in your life. The slave believes that being informed is his civic duty. He wakes up and reads financial news. He watches the charts in red. He listens to experts predict the apocalypse. Every minute you spend consuming news of scarcity, you are allowing a bureaucrat thousands of miles away to defecate in your subconscious mind. You are programming your quantum thermostat for bankruptcy. You are lowering your electromagnetic shields and letting the virus of fear into your nervous system. The sovereign creator does not read the news. The sovereign decrees a fast from terror. I strictly forbid you from consuming any type of mass media that talks about crisis. Uninstall news apps. Block financial alerts. If something truly important happens, someone will tell you. Tragedy is loud. While the world collapses on glass screens, you are locked in your dark chamber. Eyes closed, visualizing mountains of gold and assuming your empire is expanding. Your voluntary blindness to the crisis is your bulletproof vest. Disconnecting from the hive mind. The Matrix operates as a hive mind, like a swarm of bees. If one bee gets scared, it releases a pheromone that alerts the entire hive in seconds. When a recession occurs, the pheromones of fear flood the streets. Your friends will talk about high prices. The taxi driver will complain about gas. They are trying to connect you back to the hive mind. They want you to share their hallucination, to feel accompanied in their misery. This is where you apply the magnetism of silence in the most cruel way possible. When someone complains about the economy, look at them with clinical coldness, do not nod. Respond with a crushing tactical amnesia. I don't know what you're talking about. This has been the most lucrative year of my life. I've never seen so much money flowing into my accounts. The short circuit in their brains will be monumental. Let them be offended. You have cut the cable to the hive. The economic secession. Historically, secession is the act by which a territory separates from a nation to form its own sovereign country. You are going to declare economic secession. You will draw an electromagnetic border around your physical body and your businesses. You will declare, I do not participate in the global economy. Declare inflation, unemployment, and crisis have no jurisdiction in my territory. This is not a positive thought. It is a legal order in the fifth dimension. When you separate your identity from the general market, you become immune to its fluctuations. The stock market can fall 50%, and your business can grow 300%. You do not depend on the central bank. You do not depend on the current government. You depend exclusively on the density of your subconscious mind. You are a quantum embassy walking in a foreign territory. Local laws do not apply to you. The one-man monopoly. Economic panic is based on the idea of competition. The slave is afraid because he believes that if there is less money circulating, he will have to fight harder with his competitors for the scraps. That is the vision of the hyena fighting for the carcass of a zebra. The unbreakable monster does not compete. Competition is for mortals who offer generic services. The sovereign raises his vibration, his exclusivity, and his identity to such an absurdly high level that he becomes a one-man monopoly. There is no one on earth who can do exactly what you do, with the arrogance and frequency you do it with. When you become a monopoly, the recession is irrelevant. In times of crisis, people stop buying generic trash from mediocre companies, but they never stop paying fortunes to the true leaders who offer them salvation and absolute certainty. You will keep the clients of all your fallen competitors. Blood in the streets, the predator's feast. Baron Rothschild once said, "The time to buy is when there is blood in the streets, even if the blood is your own." This is the philosophy of the financial predator. During a 3D recession, the whole world is on sale. Companies, real estate, and assets are sold at liquidation prices due to pure terror. The slave, paralyzed by the news, hides his money under the mattress. The sovereign deploys his tactical liquidity. You walk through the ruins of the 3D economy like a king buying castles for the price of a hut. You buy the businesses of your terrified rivals. You do not feel pity. Pity is a low-frequency emotion that insults the other's creative capacity. If they decided to believe in the illusion and give away their heritage out of fear, that is the script they chose. You are playing the conqueror's script. You are simply cleaning the market, collecting diamonds they threw in the mud. Inflation is an illusion of the poor. Let's talk about the boogeyman that terrifies the middle class. Inflation. Prices go up, gas costs double. The slave looks at the pump and feels his life is being stolen. He gets angry with the government. Listen carefully. Inflation only exists for those who have a static identity. If you earn $3,000 a month and your identity is bolted to that number, 3D inflation will crush you. Your money will be worth less and you will suffer. The sovereign uses 3D inflation as a trigger to execute identity inflation in the 5D. If the world raises prices 10%, you raise your price 1,000%. If gas costs double, you simply decide that your hour of work or your product costs 10 times more. You raise your wealth frequency so aggressively that physical inflation becomes an imperceptible rounding error. You do not get smaller. You become obscenely giant. Voluntary blindness to the market. What if your own business seems to be suffering the crisis? What if you go a month without sales? Your biological ego will say, "The news was right. No one is buying." This is the test of your absolute mastery of magnetism. If you lower prices to adapt, you have knelt before the idol of the 3D economy. The unbreakable monster reacts with voluntary blindness. Look at the zero sales and refuse to recognize them as a final fact. Tell your mind, this stillness is not a crisis. It is the universe clearing the pipe for a massive injection of capital that is on the way. You do not lower your fee. Maintain the titanium silence. Stay immovable like an iron statue in a storm. The quantum field detests the resistance of an immovable creator. Seeing that you will not yield to panic, the field collapses the 3D resistance and sends you clients with money in hand. You won by not blinking. The creation of the private ecosystem. By isolating yourself from the crisis, you will start to attract other avatars who vibrate at your same frequency of immunity. Investors who don't watch the news will approach you. Clients who have no budget problems. Without realizing it, you will have created a private ecosystem. A bubble of luxury, power, and infinite capital flow in the middle of a planet drowning in its own fears. In this ecosystem, no one speaks of lack. No one mentions the word crisis. Conversations revolve around expansion and the conquest of new territories. You have become a quantum Noah's Ark. Tactical exploitation of broken rules. During crises, the rules of the matrix break. Government and banking institutions, in their own panic, create tax loopholes and print money wildly to try to save their own theater. The slave stays paralyzed, waiting for a government help check. The sovereign audits the chaos. He looks for the rules that just broke and exploits them with surgical cruelty. You use the fire of the crisis to forge your golden sword. Chaos is a ladder, and while 99% cry on the lowest step, you climb the steps 3 at a time by stepping on the heads of ruined institutions. The anti-fragile beyond resilience. Nassim Taleb coined the term anti-fragile. The fragile breaks with chaos. The resilient resists chaos and stays the same. The anti-fragile needs chaos to become stronger. The sovereign creator is the metaphysical incarnation of anti-fragility. You do not endure the economic crisis. You use the crisis as a quantum steroid. Every time the global economy shakes, you get richer. You have conditioned your 3D avatar to assume that the worst moments for Earth are your most obscene harvest seasons. You desire chaos because you know you are the owner of the casino. Silence before the slave's question. A day will come when a slave stops you on the street, or a relative looks at you with resentment. They will see your new car and your luxury clothes. They will see the unalterable peace on your face while the rest of the country burns in inflation. They will ask, "How do you do it? What is your secret?" The false guru would open his mouth to give them a class. He would try to save the slave by explaining the matrix. You are not going to do that. Remember the black box. Look your relative in the eyes. Relax your shoulders with brutal indifference and respond, "I've just had a bit of luck." The terror of your unbreakable mystery. By giving them the most empty, boring response, "I was lucky," you have just sealed your quantum vault. They will know you are lying. They will know no one is that lucky in a global crisis. They will know you are hiding something gigantic. Their brain will not be able to process it. They will obsess over you. You will become a living myth. That refusal to share your tactical secrets with the plebeians is the final shield that protects your monopoly. It is not cruelty. It is vibrational hygiene. You are not the savior of the 3D world. You are the owner of your own world. Chapter 10. Silent Opulence. You have crossed the ocean of biological terror. You have dismantled the religion of sweat. You inflated your identity, hacked the minds of your clients with pure telepathy, and declared independence from the global economy. The universe has had no other mathematical option but to surrender. The 3-dimensional hologram has collapsed in your favor. The vaults have opened, and physical, material, and dense money has flooded your reality. You have the power. You have the gold. You have won the game. And it is exactly here, at the majestic peak of victory, where the matrix devours 99% of those who escape poverty. Reaching the top requires aggressiveness and assumption, but staying at the top, sustaining a transgenerational empire without your own mind betraying you, requires a coldness and a psychopathic elegance that very few possess. Today you are going to learn the Creator's final secret. You are going to learn to inhabit permanent wealth. You will discover why the nouveau riche always loses his money, and how the true sovereign develops an existential heaviness, so mute, opulent, and lethal, that the entire material world trembles before his mere presence. Welcome to Silent Opulence. The pathology of the nouveau riche, the jester with a platinum card. Society is infested with clowns with money, people who, through a stroke of luck, a temporary business, or a poorly sustained quantum leap, manage to materialize a couple of $1 million. The slave who becomes rich overnight suffers from an incurable pathology, the thirst for 3-dimensional validation. Since deep down he still has the self-concept of a beggar, he cannot stand the idea of having money without his neighbors knowing. His ego, terrified by the possibility of becoming invisible again, demands to make noise. The nouveau riche buys clothes covered in giant logos so that everyone knows how much he spent. He rents brightly colored sports cars and revs them at traffic lights. He orders the most expensive bottles at the nightclub and lights flares so the whole club looks at him. He posts photos of his watches, his first-class travels, and his stacks of bills on social networks. He accompanies those photos with ridiculous motivational phrases. Listen to me well. The nouveau riche is a beggar shouting in a public square that he has just found a piece of bread. That noise, that obscene need to exhibit wealth, is a massive electromagnetic leak. It is the irrefutable proof that the person does not feel like the owner of their money. They feel that money is a temporary guest in their life, and they have to show it off before it leaves. And money, being a quantum entity that despises the weak, will leave. The Matrix will snatch that wealth away in a couple of years through bad investments, destructive divorces or scams, to return the Jester to his rightful misery. The aesthetics of sovereignty, visual silence. The unbreakable monster detests noise. The sovereign operates under the law of silent opulence. When you are genuinely and obscenely rich from the fifth dimension, your need to impress the dead avatars of the Matrix disappears completely. Why would a god try to show off his gold to ants? The sovereign's aesthetic is a lethal, expensive, and hermetic minimalism. You wear the most exquisite materials on the planet, cashmere, silk, pure linen, but without a single visible logo. Your clothes are not a billboard for European brands. Your clothes are the soundproof frame that highlights the gravity of your presence. You drive machines of perfect engineering, but you do not need them to make noise. You move through the world like a nuclear submarine, undetectable on radar, but with the capacity to destroy entire cities if you so decide. When the sovereign enters a room, he does not draw attention by being loud or flashy. He draws attention because of the dense vacuum he creates around him. People look at him and do not know how much money he has. They cannot calculate his net worth by looking at his shoes. They only feel a wall of ice and power. They feel they are in front of someone who could buy the entire building in cash and then have it demolished. That is the terror of silent opulence. The Matrix cannot classify you, it cannot label you, and therefore it submits to you out of pure survival instinct, normalizing the miracle, the boredom of abundance. We have talked about this in previous chapters, but at the top of the empire, this rule becomes a matter of life or death. The universe delivers to you what you consider normal. The law of assumption does not manifest what you desire with euphoria. It manifests what you accept as your biological and boring baseline. If you close a $10 million deal and jump for joy, uncork champagne, cry and call your family to celebrate the miracle, you have just devalued your own currency. You are screaming to the quantum field, "This is a miracle. This is something very rare that never happens to me. I am so small and this sum is so big." The quantum field will take note. It will say, "Understood. $10 million is an anomalous and miraculous event in this subject's life. We will not send it again for 20 years, so as not to ruin the surprise." The sovereign receives the $10 million and yawns. You look at the bank screen, nod slowly, adjust your watch and say aloud, "On time, as I ordered in my mind 3 weeks ago. Next matter." There is no party. There are no tears. There is no euphoria. There is a divine boredom. The normalization of extreme opulence is the quantum glue that fixes wealth to your hologram forever. If $10 million seems like a triviality to you, the universe will send you $100 million to see if it manages to upset you, and you will yawn again. The universe, desperate to match your frequency of "this is normal," will flood you with galaxies of money until physical matter bows completely before your apathy. The weight of King Midas, specific gravity. In Greek mythology, King Midas received the gift of turning everything he touched into gold. The story is told to us as a tragedy because Midas ended up turning his food and his daughter into metal statues. They taught you that fable so you would be afraid of greed. The Greeks were wise, but the slaves misinterpreted the lesson. Midas's touch is not a curse. It is the quantum X-ray of a self-concept inflated to its maximum capacity. It is what is known in physics as specific gravity. When you reach silent opulence, your identity becomes so heavy, so colossal, and so dense that anything that enters your electromagnetic field mutates instantly. It mutates to match your value. You no longer need to search for good business. You touch a mediocre business, inject your silent assumption, and the business becomes a money-printing machine. You do not chase the best clients. An average client enters your office, sits in front of your gravity, and his subconscious is altered. Suddenly, the client decides to empty his bank accounts to pay you 10 times more than he planned. Everything you touch turns into gold, not because you apply cheap magic techniques in the 3D world, but because you are the gold. Matter has no will of its own. The hologram is blind and obedient. If a piece of coal enters the atmosphere of a burning sun, it has no other option but to ignite and burn. You are that sun. The murder of comparison, the mental monopoly. The slave's wealth is relative. The slave feels rich only if he has more money than his neighbor. If the slave buys a Mercedes, he feels like a god until his neighbor buys a Ferrari. Then, the slave feels miserable and poor again. His wealth depends on an external measuring stick. His self-concept is hijacked by the financial decisions of the other avatars. The unbreakable monster murders comparison. The sovereign operates a mental monopoly. You do not give a sovereign damn about what your competitor earns. You don't care if the trendy entrepreneur just bought a private jet. You do not look to the sides. Looking to the sides is losing your center of gravity. When you compare yourself, you abandon the throne of your own dimension to go compete like a beggar in someone else's dimension. You are the only real inhabitant of your quantum universe. The others are projections. How are you going to feel envy of the success of a projection that you yourself are tolerating in your hologram? Your wealth is absolute. You are rich because you decreed it in the dark vacuum of your pineal gland, not because your car is faster than the neighbor's. When comparison dies, competition disappears. And when competition disappears, you become the only logical and energetic option for all the money circulating in your sector. The lead vault, secrecy as the ultimate defense. Once you reach this level of financial fluidity, you will face the ego's last temptation, the desire to be the savior of your tribe. You will see your parents, your friends, or your acquaintances struggling to make ends meet. You will hear them complain about inflation and the government. And you will feel the biological impulse to open your wallet, rescue them from their misery, or even worse, sit them down to explain the law of assumption and how you manage to dematerialize money. Stop. Stop cold. Bite your tongue until you bleed if necessary. If you reveal your real income to people who vibrate in scarcity, you are going to activate the most destructive radiation in the universe, passive-aggressive envy. Even if they say they are happy for you, their subconscious will resent your greatness. They will think you were lucky or that you think you are superior. That radiation will bombard your quantum field. It will introduce resistance into your network of manifestations. And if you try to teach them the secret, they will spit in your face. The slave defends his chains with his life. They will tell you that you are crazy, that you are in a cult, or that the real world doesn't work that way. The true king rules from the lead vault. No one in your 3D social circle should know exactly how much you earn. No one should know the real extent of your empire. To them, you are simply someone who is doing well. Give them vague answers. Be a black hole of financial information. You help the world by raising your own vibration and creating jobs or products from excellence, not by giving away your energy to avatars who have chosen to play the role of victims. Silence is the lock of your vault. Do not give the combination to beggars. Tactical contempt for material loss. Silent opulence grants you the most terrifying superpower for the Matrix, indifference toward material destruction. Over the years, there will be oscillations in the physical world, businesses that will complete their cycle, accounts that might fluctuate. The three-dimensional multimillionaire, who amassed his fortune with physical effort, lives terrified. He pays for very expensive insurance, hires armies of lawyers, and cannot sleep for fear that a judge, a partner, or the market will take his money. His wealth is his golden cage. The sovereign who has mastered the quantum leap and dematerialization looks at his empire and smiles with a sociopathic coldness. He knows that he does not have money. He is the money. If a fire burns all your factories tomorrow morning, if a hacker erases your bank accounts, if the Matrix tries the perfect checkmate to leave you naked in the street, the slave commits suicide, the sovereign laughs. You stand in front of the ashes of your physical empire, brush the dust off your jacket, and say to the universe, "Good attempt. I had grown bored of this design anyway. Let's rebuild it triple the size by Tuesday." That is absolute invulnerability. It is not that you cannot lose physical matter. It is that losing physical matter is energetically irrelevant to you. You know you can collapse the probability wave again at any moment. You are God's printing press. The ultimate flex, the freedom of immobility. We have talked about the hustle, hard work, and the hamster in the wheel. We have murdered the need to move physically to earn money. But the ultimate symptom that you have assimilated silent opulence is your capacity to exercise the ultimate flex, the freedom of immobility. The extreme poor cannot stay still because they starve. The slave millionaire cannot stay still because he dies of anxiety over losing his status. You are going to take one day of the week, a Tuesday or a Wednesday at noon, when the whole world is at its peak, stress running, sweating, and shouting. You're going to sit on the sofa in your living room. No music, no cell phone, no books, no guided meditations. You're going to stay in absolute silence for 3 hours, looking at the wall. And while you are there, immobile, you're going to feel how the money from your businesses keeps coming into your accounts. You're going to feel how your investments keep growing on automatic. You're going to feel how the entire world keeps spinning around you without you having moved a single tendon in your body. That voluntary immobility, that capacity to exist in the absolute void, while matter serves you, is the closest experience to divinity. You feel tactical contempt in its maximum purity. The universe is your servant. You are the architect resting on the seventh day. There is no friction. There is no time. There is only a silent, dense, and crushing opulence. The financial singularity, the black hole. We reach the end of alchemy, to the final state of matter. You have stopped being a human who uses the law of assumption as a tool to get bills. You have transcended the technique. You no longer visualize. You no longer repeat affirmations. You no longer lock yourself in the dark chamber to fight your doubts. Doubts have been disintegrated. You have reached the financial singularity. You have become a black hole. A black hole in space does not do anything. It does not move chasing planets. It does not do marketing to attract stars. It does not plead for light. A black hole simply exists in its own center. It has become so dense, so colossally heavy, that it bends the fabric of space-time around it, and by mere physical inertia, everything that passes near it, planets, stars, comets, entire galaxies, is sucked into its interior in an inevitable, inescapable, and terrifying way. You are that black hole. Money, opportunities, power, high-level clients, and generational wealth no longer have to be pursued by your physical body. Space-time has bent around your self-concept. Abundance falls toward you. It falls into your bank account by pure force of gravity. There is no effort. There is no friction. There is only inertia. People will look at you and not understand how you do it. They will ask you for advice. They will try to imitate your business strategies, copy your products, and clone your marketing, but they will fail miserably. They will fail because they will try to copy the movements of your 3D hologram. They ignore completely that your secret is not in what you do, but in the gravitational mass of what you are, the disappearance of the financial ego. At this point of singularity, the desire to be rich also disappears. The slave desires wealth because he feels he lacks it. The black hole does not desire to absorb a planet. It simply absorbs it because it is its mathematical nature. You look at your bank account with millions of dollars and you feel no pride. You do not feel that you beat the system. You feel a deep, peaceful, and beautiful indifference. It is the indifference of a fish surrounded by water. The fish does not celebrate the water. It does not thank the water every day. It simply breathes it and swims in it. Money has become the water of your tank. You no longer think in terms of expensive or cheap. You no longer think about saving or spending. You only think about flow, gravity, and aesthetic expansion. You have killed the slave, the worker, the dreamer, and the saver. You have decapitated your family tree of poverty and erased your history. You are an unbreakable monster. You are the living weight of King Midas operating in the dark. The end of the three-dimensional game. There are no more financial books you should read. There are no more gurus to whom you should hand over your money, so they can teach you the secret of e-commerce or real estate investments. All the technical knowledge of the three-dimensional world is dust compared to the power of a mind that dematerialized wealth. The game is won. The simulation has been hacked from the source code. The chessboard has been flipped and you have all the pieces. But before you close this manual and launch yourself to devour physical reality, there is one last contract we must sign. A definitive ultimatum between you and the infinite intelligence. A final order to ensure that you never, under any circumstance or holographic tragedy, ever again bend your knee before the illusion of material scarcity. Conclusion: burn the contract. The theory is over. You have reached the edge of the three-dimensional precipice. You already know the architecture of the illusion. You understand that money is a ghost, that extreme physical effort is the religion of slaves, and that your biological thermostat was the only cage keeping you in poverty. You hold in your hands the source code to hack the matrix economy, but information without relentless execution is merely intellectual masturbation. If you close this book and wake up tomorrow anxious to check your bank account, begging for clients, or lowering your prices out of terror of bankruptcy, you deserve the misery that will devour you. This is the ultimate ultimatum, the absolute point of no return in your timeline. Today you are going to sign your official and irrevocable resignation from the market of three-dimensional slaves. Throughout your entire life, you maintained an invisible contract with the system. A contract that said, "I will surrender my youth, my sweat, and my peace of mind in exchange for paper bills in order to survive." That contract was drafted by fear and signed by your ignorance. Burn it. Burn it right now in the dark chamber of your mind. Watch the ashes of your hard-working identity disperse into the quantum vacuum. From this exact millisecond, I forbid you from ever again exchanging your vital energy for money. I forbid you from ever again feeling pity for yourself or envy for others' success. Envy is for those who compete. You no longer compete. You monopolize your sector with a terrifying arrogance. The Matrix will try to seduce you to return. It will send you economic crises, unexpected bills, and the panic of the masses. Your family members will tell you to be realistic. Your friends will tell you that the economy is irremediably collapsing. Look them in the eyes with the coldness of an iceberg and apply the magnetism of silence. Do not debate with frightened holograms. Let them drown in their own hallucination of scarcity. You have declared economic secession. You operate under the laws of your own gravity, where inflation does not exist, and quantum leaps are your daily routine. The three-dimensional world is a delayed mirror. Stop scrubbing the glass until your hands bleed. Sit on your throne. Assume obscene wealth as your non-negotiable birthright. Inflate your identity until the matrix suffocates and has no choice but to print the physical money to match your divine assumption. You did not come to this universe to pay debts and die. You came to bend matter. You came to become a black hole of opulence, attracting galaxies of abundance by the simple weight of your silent and masterful existence. The beast is tamed. Time is collapsed. Effort is dead. Stand up. Adjust your invisible crown. Close your mouth. Turn your back on the illusion of the physical world and force money to kneel at your feet forever. The game is over. You have won.